don't want to get mixed up with a guy like me. I'm a loner, Dottie. A rebel.
Hey, welcome to the show. Welcome, everybody. I hope that the sound is good. Oh, my gosh. Yeah, baby. Hey, welcome to the show, everybody. Hey, everybody, welcome to the show. My name is Skyjack Morgan. I'm an independent news and culture commentator, free speech and critical thinking advocate. And oh my gosh, I'm so glad that you're alive. I'm so glad that you're here. We are doing a call-in show. The call-in show is, hey, start. Oh, man, I was trying to, you know what's funny? I was going to start on time, but your, thank you, by the way. Thank you for supporting the channel. But I saw that, and then I'm like clicking, and I went out of the studio and went back into the virtual studio because your $5 had a star on it, but it wasn't. Anyway, I hope you guys can hear me. Technical difficulties aside, thank you. We're here. Good comment. Cool, Steve. Thank you, Ben from Berlin. Thank you. It's gonna be my fault. No, it's not your fault. It's not your fault. It was something within the virtual studio that was kind of acting up. It was acting up a little bit. I'm not sure exactly what happened, but that's okay. You know, we're all here. Everyone's happy. It's all going to be fine. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. I can't thank you enough. I really do appreciate it. I am hoping to stay in California. This is the Skyjack Mortgage Show. I mean, the Skyjack Morning Show. No, the Skyjack Morgan Show. My name is Skyjack Morgan. I have a supercomputer sitting here. I need to lift it up. It's plugged in now. Like that's the update on the gaming computer. As you know, I've been doing some gaming content, and I've been really excited about it. Sky, do you remember what you wanted to ask me earlier today? It was something about German, man. It was about the German language. I don't remember what it was. It was in the beginning of the show, of the morning show, man. I don't remember. It was something about the German language, though. I was like, how do you say that in German again? I forget now. Maybe it was, I don't know. I don't remember. Because the reason why I don't remember is because there was two things in German. I spoke German twice this morning, and the second time I knew what I was saying, but the first time I was like, damn it. I can't remember what I wanted to say. I can't remember what I wanted to ask you, dude. I don't remember. I'm sorry. And then you showed up. I was literally going, Ben, where are you? And you weren't there. And then you showed up later. But that was fun. Hey, everybody, welcome to the show. It's a call-in show. The call-in show is the call-in number, I guess, https://morningsky.live/PYB. That's the way to get in. I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I pin that in the comments. I'd love for you to drop an emoji in the chat so maybe we can get some people in here. Maybe we can get some people in the chat who will want to talk about one of these things or anything else. You can always BYOB as well. Oh, hey, Steffelson sent 100 for 2 jewels. Thank you. Thank you for the jewels. I appreciate that so much, Steffelson. You're incredible. Way to go. That's super cool. Thank you. Will Trump be president in 2026? That's the question. Will Trump be president in 2026? Yes or no? I want to do a goal, but I want to ask your opinion about this, especially since mostly just Sky City Rebels are here right now. If you're a Sky City Rebel, I would love to know what you think about, what are you doing on the chat? What am I doing on the chat? What are you doing on the chat? What do you think about like a non-politics Friday? What do you think about that? Was it wild? I don't know if it was wild. You had a wild night. You had a wild night. Nice. Nice to hear. Wow, you had a wild night. Good for you, man. Good for you. Unfolded during the gaming show. Oh, that makes sense because you kind of disappeared during the gaming. I was surprised. I was like, where the hell did he go? Hello, vegan friends. Can't stick around. Well, Johnny Vegan Seed, I hope that you have wherever you're going. I hope you have a great time. I was thinking about on the Friday doing a no politics Friday, but I know that that's not really going to happen. But I'm thinking like a casual Friday, do a show on Friday morning, like the Morning Sky always is, but try to keep it like more internet culture stuff, more reaction stuff that isn't necessarily news and politics. I thought that would be a cool idea. You like that idea? I thought it was cool. Yeah, non-political Friday. You think that's a cool idea? No fights Friday. No fights Friday. Talking about celebrities again. Yeah, we could talk about celebrities or like internet culture. The reason why is because Clavicular was in the news today, and it was kind of fun, making fun of that stuff. And I kind of was riffing about stuff I don't normally riff about on that show. But also, Chip was like, Chip suggested you should do a no politics Friday, and I thought that sounded so cool. Friday fun day. Yeah, like a casual Friday, like in the office. Testicular. No, well, that would mean that he's proud of how big his balls are. Testicular. He thinks that he is more sky is more better. Ah, you like me. You like me. You really do. You really like me. I thought today was Thursday. Today is Thursday. I'm talking about tomorrow doing a show. I don't normally go live on Fridays. That's the thing. I normally don't go live on Fridays, and I want to try to do because now I'm on Kick and Twitch and Facebook and all that, and I think it'd be kind of cool to go live on Fridays and do a non-politics show. I thought that'd be kind of cool, and we'll bring people on, and maybe it'll be interviews. I could do interviews on Friday, maybe. I don't know, just like keep it kind of casual Friday, just like when you work in an office building and you take off the tie. And I wouldn't wear a tie. I just wear maybe I'll wear this shirt. I'll wear this shirt, and I'll do a casual Friday. Yeah, you could just sleep. You could just keep it the same. Don't go live Fridays. That's what I'm trying to decide, right? I'm trying to decide. Some people like the idea of a Friday, but maybe I can make the Friday kind of different, That'd be kind of fun to just do it a little different. That's all I'm thinking, We are also streaming on horizontal, so if you're already, I can't tell who's on vertical or who's on horizontal, but I know that some of you prefer the horizontal stream versus the vertical stream, so I want to mention that here at the top of the show as well. Today, you should follow Friday's format every day. What? Just follow Friday's format every day, not go live on Friday? Thanks. I appreciate that, Captain Howdy. Captain Howdy. What a fun name, Captain Howdy 88. That's fun. It's good times, good times. I'm drinking tea with some lavender and mint from my garden, but I made some black Lipton tea with just a little bit of lavender and mint from my garden. Definitely a good idea in your opinion. Okay. All right. Maybe I should I think he meant no politics. Yeah, I was thinking, he meant no politics every day. I mean, that was the whole thing. You want to call in? Call in. morningsky.live/PYB. Call on in. Call in whenever you want. Anybody can call in anytime they want. You want brutal honesty. All right, let's hear it. Captain, please tell me what you are doing today, literally now. Yeah, I figured you meant no streaming. Your video. I think you have an image. Is your PFP the devil from The Exorcist? Is that what you have? Is that one frame from The Exorcist? Or is it Bat Boy from Weekly News World Report? Which one is that? I would love to know what that is. What is that face in your PFP? I'd love to know, Captain Howdy. God, what was Captain Howdy was the Shining, right? I read a lot of horror and I watch a lot of horror movies. So Captain Howdy, maybe you're just you must be a streaming. I'm sorry, a horror freak. Are you a horror freak? You must be. Yeah. Oh yeah, The Exorcist is correct. Hey, bah! See, now you like me a little bit more, don't you, Captain Howdy? Yeah, of course I know. I recognize that. What was that director's name? Zeuskind or something Kind? Was it Zeuskind? Famous director of the one and only Exorcist. Yes, That's what she calls him in The Exorcist, Captain Howdy, right? Yeah, Captain Howdy. I thought, what is the little character in Mr. and Mrs. What was the red rum? What was didn't he call his Shining the Mr. Howdy too? I forget. Red rum. I forget what he called it. Yeah. Friedkind. That's it. Friedkind. Yeah, Peaceful Child. Zeuskind is a different author. Friedkind. I knew I had it. Thank you, Twisted Hippie. You're amazing. You're testing my memory of directors of 1970s movies. I'm pretty good. I'm pretty good at remembering different directors and shit. But, stuff from the 70s I'm a little rusty on. I think that movie might have come out before I was born even. It could have come out. It definitely came out. Born in 88, saying you're old. You were born 1988? That's young. That's young, dial up. You're just a youngin'. Oh my gosh, we have our first caller here on the morningsky.live/PYB. This is, he called it Tony. Tony says that. That's right, it's Tony. Mr. and Mrs. I forget their last names. God, The Shining. I'm reading a horror novel called House of Leaves, and it's fucking crazy. And I just got finished with Moonflow. So if you like horror, Moonflow, it will blow your mind. Tony, red rum, Mr. and Mrs. Hey, how are you?
What's going on, Sky?
I'm loving life
today. After the fact, I was sleeping. You're toning it down, man. You're becoming more reasonable. I don't know what's going on. What do you think? Are you? Is the edge coming off? Are you softening, or what?
I'm becoming more reasonable? That is something I did not expect to hear you say. Why do you think I'm reasonable?
I don't know. Maybe you're evolving and becoming less of a bitter old hag. What do you think?
I want to know why you're thinking that. I don't think so. No.
This show just sort of. Oh, so you still think you're just as mad as you always are?
I think so. I mean, today I read that 15 warehouses now have been burned, have been victims of arson, and that there's an impending revolution that should be easier that it might not have to be like the French Revolution, that we could have a mini revolution and have real change. And I felt very happy about it. So I don't think that I don't think I've become more reasonable, but maybe I'm willing to be convinced.
Well, maybe I'll go back and watch it again and see if I see the same bitter hag that likes to just
what's a bitter hag?
Dance on people's grave. I don't know. Let's see a guy get shot in the neck, and you're like, oh, maybe that. I don't know. I didn't see a lot of that lately.
Well, no one's been shot in the neck
clapping
lately.
Like a little clown. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe the next time a right-wing guy gets murdered, you won't just nut in your fucking pants immediately.
If another
that guy might have had some humanity.
If a Nazi terrorist gets killed again, I will definitely be like, well, like I made a whole video about Charlie Kirk, to be fair. I made a video about Charlie Kirk saying, look, I'm not going to cry because a Nazi dies, but I also think that we should have fought it out, and no one deserves to be shot for like talking. I feel like I'm not going to cry about it, but I wish that he had lived longer so that he could like watch his children grow up, and maybe one of them's trans, or maybe he could come to terms with his own, because clearly the dude, like, I take it as fact that the dude loved trans porn. Everything that I watched about him, he talked about porn addiction. He talked about, like, he loved all porn equally. He loved porn. And then it turns out that these multiple OnlyFans models received tens of thousands of dollars from Charlie Kirk over the years. So it makes me think that the guy had other shit going on, and that rage that we saw manifesting and that hate that we saw coming out of him might have tempered over time. I mean, he was young. He could have like made good. Like I would love to have seen him make good when one of his kids comes out as gay, and it turns out that it's more acceptable for him to, you know what I mean? I don't think.
Are you justifying why you're just like a morbid freak? Is that what it is? Like, you want me to like, well, it's okay that I'm a morbid freak because he's a bad guy. Like, that's not.
I mean, I don't know. When Jerry Falwell died, I didn't cry either. I think the only time I actually laughed when someone died was when Jerry Falwell died. I thought, yeah, good, finally. But it's rare that I actually feel that way. It's very rare that I feel that way. I didn't feel that way with Charlie Kirk. I thought it was it portended badly for our future. I think
You
it's
didn't take the bait when Chuck Norris died, so I thought maybe you were coming to terms with like the humanity of people, but I guess not. You still
Do
just
you know
like,
what's funny? When I was a kid, I met Chuck Norris. That's so crazy you say
oh,
that. I met Chuck
based.
Norris. Yeah,
Did you
and
do
it's
a
funny.
Nazi salute with them? You,
You know
you
what?
fucking Hitler youth.
I'll tell you kind of a cool story about when I met Chuck Norris. Does anybody want to hear about how I met Chuck Norris? Does anyone want to hear that story? I would love
I do.
if you want to hear it. Okay, since you're on the phone, I'll tell you. So when I was little, I lived in LA, and my parents they thought I needed discipline, and I had asthma, and I couldn't do like I was a really good swimmer, but I couldn't swim very long. So I like my and I just they were trying to get me into sports, and so they got me into karate, and I did like a short time. Chuck Norris owned karate studios, and they had this big open house for karate studios, and I went in and I took a lesson with Chuck Norris as a little. I must have been like 10 or something, and I got kung fu karate lessons from Chuck Norris himself. It was rad. And there was only like, I want to say there were like 30, 40 kids. It wasn't a ton of kids. Like, it was busy for a dojo, but the dojo was big, and Chuck Norris was in the front, and I remember vividly like doing the ki-ai and na-da-da, like it was, and I loved it. And later on I did take more fighting. I took martial arts later, again. But when I was little, I took martial arts, and I loved music, so I was taking guitar lessons in LA and stuff. My parents were trying to get me into shit, just like regular parents, I guess. But yeah, he wasn't just an actor. He was also, someone saying he was an actor, he was also a professional fighter. Like, he fought in the Olympics and shit. So he was
the real deal.
Yeah, Chuck Norris was the real deal. Like, one time, a long time ago, someone asked him while he was alive and Bruce Lee was alive. They asked him who would win in a real fight, because they did some fake fighting. And Chuck Norris is like, well, I'm a professional fighter, and he's a stuntman fighter. It's like a different thing. It's just like in a contest, like a controlled fighting situation, I would probably win because I'm a pro. But anyway, I thought it was super cool. It's my I don't really have any like insights into Chuck Norris, but I remember thinking he was the coolest guy ever. And that was way before all the political shit, way before we knew that he was kind of a righty. And he got old. A lot of guys, they get too old, they start going, look at Sylvester Stallone these days. I mean, holy shit. Like, Sylvester Stallone used to joke about how Bruce Willis was a right-winger. He used to joke about it. And now he's super right-wing. So what are you going to do? You still with me, Steve? You seem a little quiet. Okay.
I am. I'm just listening to. So you're not going to dance. It's on his grave, but okay. So I don't know how we move past that. Like, whenever you're starting
Which
to like,
part?
like if somebody comes and stabs Sky in the face, I think you're a disgusting fucking communist, a race communist, a race traitor. I think you hate white people. I think these things.
I don't
but
think I hate white people.
And it's like you're my brother. You know what I mean? Like, in the world, it's like you're a human being.
Sure.
That's not anything I want to have happen to you. But like,
First of all,
you to have. Go ahead.
Well, I don't hate white people. I like white people. I like all people, and I grew up around different people, and I know I spent a lot of time with white people. My parents were white, and
my parents were white. Yeah.
Shit,
Okay, like, you can have those ideas and still want white men to fail at the.
I don't want white men to fail.
You want other people to be uplifted at the expense of white man. Like, look, that's your political thing, and you might not buy fully into that. I understand that, right? But either way,
I think you're dead wrong. I
animosity
think you're
there.
dead wrong. I think that white people should develop their culture by embracing the past and understanding that a rising tide lifts all boats. That together we're stronger, and we can still maintain our cultural identity. But we can't maintain our cultural identity. White people will never have a real cultural identity as long as we're ignoring and mythologizing the past.
Okay, so we can't go look at like what the Mediterranean and say that's not our history, that's not our past, right?
Yeah, the Mediterranean, sure, yeah, that's all our past, but it's like we mythologize it rather than look at it with a sober, stoic eye.
It's ancient. Like, you can only What do you mean you can only it's literally mythology, bro. What do you mean?
Well, when you go that far back, I suppose you're right, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about trying to erase the history of slavery by ignoring it, or trying to pretend like the genocides that Western Europeans.
How many slaves did Caesar pull out of Gaul? How many did he kill? And how many were those white people? Bro, what are you? Let's not do this. Look, we're just.
You're the one levying. You're the one throwing stones. Like I don't hate white people. Is the point? But I guess if you're saying like, what's the difference between me and like a Charlie Kirk? One, I'm straight. Two, I have no power. I don't make $90 million a year for a political party, and he did. Like he was. I don't. I have a voice. I mean, call me up when I'm raising $90 million. When I'm making $90 million a year. And I'm raising millions, hundreds of millions for a party, for any party. Then call me up and say I deserve to get killed or shot or stabbed or whatever. But it's a little rich comparing me to someone like Charlie Kirk. You know what I mean? Like I have no power.
I don't know, dude. Like,
he worked for the president.
Right. I understand that he's not somebody that was doing a good thing, right?
Well, some people probably thought he was doing a good thing. I don't think he was doing a good thing, and
from his own perspective, he thought that for sure.
I think he was conflicted on it, especially towards the end. I mean, like even me, there were parts of me. He actually, right before Charlie Kirk died, he and Nick Fuentes started saying shit that was like, "Whoa, are these guys waking up?" And then Charlie Kirk got murdered. And things got really weird. Like Nick Fuentes doubled down on all his anti-Semitism shit that I thought he was backing away from. He got more fringy. Like things got really weird after Charlie Kirk got killed. And I really think that Charlie Kirk was even conflicted about how much money he was raising for his boss and how much he wanted to have the president as his boss. I think because the shit that he was saying towards the end, and now stuff like that we're finding out he said, stuff that I didn't know back then that I know today that he said, that's like, I don't think he was as gung-ho as people think for Donald Trump, especially in the end. So, you know what I mean? I think that there was a chance that he might have made good, like a Marjorie Taylor Greene. I still don't like Marjorie Taylor Greene, but look what she's doing. She's like a voice of reason now somehow on that side of the. You know, I still disagree with her, but
I'm trying to think of an example I could give that would be. You remember that Chinese guy we brought him up from Texas? Remember him?
Yeah, Wu. His last name is Wu.
Yeah. All right. So I don't think anything bad should happen to Wu. I don't think like some activist should go shoot him in the face. I think that would actually be
based on that one quote. I think so. Yeah. But if he made a career, like if state legislator from Texas Wu, if he started making a whole career and raising tens or hundreds of millions of dollars based on white hate, and all of a sudden there was a movement to kill him, would you be surprised? I wouldn't be surprised. I wouldn't support it, but I wouldn't be surprised. You know what I mean?
So many people. Like, think about people who have the worst intentions in mind. But like George Soros,
give me names.
Right? A demon, a rotten demon of a human being, George Soros. I think that he should be harmed. No, if tomorrow he's like, you know what, white people are pretty cool. They don't deserve to be washed away with, you know, whatever we're doing. Like, I'd be like, that's my brother. What are you talking about?
As far as I know, George Soros is a billionaire who happens to donate predominantly to Democrats and foreigners and foreign countries that he thinks share his values. But I don't really see why people love to, like, I guess because he's a lefty billionaire, people like really think about who's actually talking shit on him. Other right-wing billionaires are talking shit on him because he's not part of the boys club or something. But you're right. But I guarantee you that billionaire, by the way, I don't cry when billionaires die either. If George Soros died, I'd be like, yeah, I mean, it sucks, but billionaires, am I right? Like, I
think you sound like a bitter little queen, honestly. That it doesn't suit you. It just like, it seems under you to sit there and like, I don't know. I don't like that part of your
I'm not advocating for it. I'm not advocating for it.
Okay, well, I don't like that you like it. Like, you
I don't like it.
Even Hassan Piker saw the video, it was like he cringed in his seat. He's like, oh shit, because he saw the bullet go into the man's neck and like rip through his frame. We saw the soul relieve him, and then it was like, oh, He didn't just sit there and pull his fucking wank out and start hitting. You know, like, come on, bro. It's
so did I.
fucked.
When I saw it, I said, "Holy shit, that dude!" First of all, that guy's not alive. He is definitely dead. And secondly, oh my God, is that what we're doing now? We're shooting people for talking. That's the first thing I said. The first thing out of my mouth. And then on reflection, I was like, you know what? I'm not surprised. I'm not. I'm horrified that he's shot. But again, let's not pretend that Charlie Kirk was like some hero, and that's what people were doing. Because that was the thing that really got me. A lot of people who were Charlie Kirk supporters, they start going like painting murals like he's some fucking like he's MLK Jr. or something, and he's not. He's just not. Like, let's not let his death cover up who he was in life. Let's be honest.
There's a video I'm gonna give you some money to watch. It's by Sam Hyde. It's called "You Are Charlie Kirk" or something like that.
I'll be happy to watch
it. It will paint the perspective properly, from my opinion. But like, you should like.
Blondie asks who. What does George Soros look like? And he looks like the Emperor Palpatine or something. He doesn't look. He's old. I mean, he's an old billionaire who gives his money to people. I don't know. People love talking shit. His wife's actions canceled his sainthood. I don't know about. I mean, Charlie Kirk was no saint. I don't know why we're all pretending like he is, and why that becomes the conversation. and how many months should go by before you're allowed to joke about stuff? You know, like, I felt really relieved when we started joking about 9/11, because it was like, finally we can start maybe processing this. I still very rarely hear decent jokes about COVID, and it's like, fuck, man, we need to start joking about COVID more, because we need to heal.
When Donald Trump dies, it's gonna be like, okay, it's like, he's not a good person, and it'll be a better thing for everyone when he goes and his power structures, all that shit's dispersed, right? But like, I'm like, he's still.
Well, yeah, I won't have to read his tweets anymore.
But human.
Yeah, I guess like when Nixon died, I mean, he was no short of enemies, right? And nobody thought he was a saint. Even his own Nixon library at that point did actually play and still does play the Watergate tapes. Now you can go and listen to them there. It's pretty cool. It's got a cool exhibit. But when they built the place, they pretended like it never happened. But before he died, they were more honest about what went down. Anyway, Nixon died. They still put the flags at half-mast. They still did the big ceremony with the dead, commander-in-chief and the fucking horse with the boots and the whole thing. They still did all that shit. It's not like, and they're going to do it for Trump too. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know what we want. Charlie Kirk died. They did this ridiculous memorial thing that was like fucking laughable. Like, the jokes write themselves. They're doing it to themselves.
Yeah.
If they
I guess like, I'm sort of guilty as well. Remember that little kid that got his eye put out by ICE? Kind of mocked him.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't like that. I don't like that shit. I don't like it. I don't like that 50 million Americans thought it was dope as fuck when 2 commies got gunned down by ICE. It's not good. It's not a good thing. It's not a good headspace for us to be in. I don't think that's
totally
get us
anywhere
other than murdered by one another, even.
Well, so I agree with you that it's unsavory, right? Is that fair enough to say? Like, it sucks because more people are getting killed. This isn't the 60s. Like, the 60s, MLK, Malcolm X, RFK Jr., like, people were getting picked off, man. The fucking JFK got killed. Like, everybody was getting shot on TV. And so we haven't gotten that far yet, I hope. I don't think so. But we don't have that many leaders either worth shooting, I suppose. But I get what you're saying. I definitely look at lone gunmen, crazy people, like what happened with Kirk, differently than I do at state violence. I think state violence is far more offensive because they act all the time. The state kills us with impunity all the time.
Yeah.
And we just act like it's nothing. So, like, I'm more pissed off about that than I am about, like, if it turned out that Donald Trump killed Kirk, like, I mean, is it that far flung? Is it that far fetched? Yeah, dial-up
I
saying
mean,
lone gunman. Exactly, lone gunman. You're as a joke, yeah.
I
That,
something stuck in my mind earlier. You from your earlier shift, but your show. I'm so sorry. Your
shift. Yeah,
earlier
same
show, you
thing.
played you played a
Same thing.
clip of I think it was Fox or CNN where there was this African American saying like uh, how hard it would be for the government to fake the voter
Oh yeah,
things
those
that the Trump administration is
Lester
claiming.
Holt
Like,
saying like it'd be so hard for them to. Yeah, what did he say? It'd be so hard for them to
yeah,
fix.
okay,
Yeah.
yeah, it's like okay, I guess. Yeah, that's just like the most ridiculous. Like, they're so sophisticated. There's like 90 million cameras in one city alone. Like, get out of my face, dude. They're so sophisticated. Like, they can't. Like, they
Yeah.
wouldn't do something to benefit themselves at our expense. Get real, dude.
So I have
What a
some thoughts on
bootlicker.
that. I have some thoughts on that. Hold on a second. Bobby Fischer, great chess grandmaster Bobby Fischer, is saying Tucker Carlson, a true independent, fired by Fox and CNN. Well, yeah. I mean, I don't know if he was always a true independent though. When he got fired by CNN, for example, or Fox for that matter. But he definitely is on the fringe these days. Bobby Fischer, also the real Bobby Fischer, towards the end of his life got real independent too about some things about political shit. But back to the conspiracy thing, it's so funny to me because when 9/11 happened and the truther movement came out, where do you fall on that, on the truther thing? Just as a, what do you think? Like,
Well,
yes,
yeah, I think a lot of I think there might be some misdirection by the government in that to get people to seem silly because they like people talking about physics, like
yeah,
the two planes for sure brought down those buildings. It's entirely possible that those two airplane strikes brought down those buildings, right? I don't
yeah.
need thermite. I don't need explosives. I don't need missiles. I don't need nothing else to explain that, right? That's
Yeah.
all I'm saying. And as far as what I know is those planes definitely brought down those towers.
Okay, but what do you think about when I remember when before all that thermite and all that other shit happened, when they were talking about that? I remember the original story was that they just knocked everybody out on the plane, and the CIA or whoever, the government, kind of remote controlled the planes into the buildings. It was pretty easy, and that was able to happen. And I thought that's crazy. And when 20, 30, 20 years ago now, that's crazy. That would never happen. How would you keep everybody quiet? And it turns out pretty easily. It turns out the more we find out about these fucking conspiracies that are real, it turns out it's pretty easy to keep everybody. Because I always thought conspiracies are impossible, like the way we understand them, that everyone's working in tandem, right? Because so many people have to shut the fuck up, and we can't keep any secrets. Tulsi Gabbard has a leak, So how would they keep 9/11 a secret? But it turns out, man, they could have had, 20 dudes, killed 10 of them. It could have easily been a secret. So
like if you're willing to do that, and then you just keep them alive and you do extra shit with them, just pay them enough. There's people that will do anything, literally anything, for a paycheck. I know a guy who killed his own countrymen in Afghanistan or Iraq just so he could get a trip over here and get a really nice job working for the Department of Defense. He's a steroid user. His wife is beautiful. Beautiful. He took the deal. He made the deal with the devil, and he's ready to kill Americans whenever he's activated again. He's fit. He's got the mindset. Just keep him on the payroll.
Yeah,
He's ready to cut heads off of little old ladies here as soon as he's paid enough. Absolutely, he will.
I like to go back to also the Teapot Dome scandal. People don't remember the Teapot Dome scandal because it was the biggest thing until Watergate. But Teapot Dome was the government colluding with oil companies in order to take money and land from the American people and siphon money and land to the oil companies in return for kickbacks. And it was way back. It was a long, long time ago, 100 years ago maybe. And it was the biggest scandal in American history. And we've all forgotten about it. They don't teach it in schools anymore. Like, it was a footnote when I was in school, the Teapot Dome scandal. And now it's like, I don't think anybody in my chat would even know what the Teapot Dome scandal is. And it's a big fucking deal. Sinclair, like that company, Sinclair Oil, the gas station still exists. That company still exists. And they're still colluding with the government. And,
Oh, yeah.
that's, and we have like the the fact that they collude, that government and corporate collusion to dismantle all of the light rail in America in order to replace them with buses so that we could sell more gasoline and more tires and more engines. And fuck, man, like it happens again and again. And when they get caught, they get a little slap on the wrist and they're allowed to keep going. So who cares even if they do get caught? They don't care. It's like, I guess that's the other thing. I used to think conspiracy theories were bullshit because so many people have to keep their mouths shut, but it turns out it doesn't even matter if they keep their mouths shut, because even when they're caught, there's no penalty.
Well, it's good that they have people like you to call me racist when I bring up the idea that this Afghanistan guy that murdered his kinfolk, murdered his, at our wish, right? He's working for the government. You get to call me a racist whenever I say he probably shouldn't be here. So think about that. So they've got useful idiots in every avenue and dark corner in our government.
It's not racism.
Absolutely.
It's not racism to say we shouldn't go to Afghanistan to kill people that have nothing to do with 9/11, and we were there for 20 years, and then we pay the locals to kill more. And then we invite them to the country after training them how to kill people. That's not racist.
The average man is not going to be able. Like it took a very specific string of incidences and foreknowledge for me to arrive to the conclusion that this guy I know, that I played COD with, that works for the Department of Defense, driving fucking trucks like I do. He makes 4 times what I do. He makes 4 times. He works half as much, and he makes 4 times as much money as I do. Okay, you know how, like, the only thing the average individual would be able to come up with is that some racism type shit that you can shut down because they're not going to be as eloquent. They're not going to be able to fully flush out why that's fucked.
Yeah, I mean, dude, yeah, there's some fuckery going on for sure. I mean, what do you want me to say? I'm not saying that.
Well, I want you to just analyze your own side, man.
Terra Firma, you're in the studio, but your mic is muted. Let me know when you're.
You
ready
want me to bow out? Because I don't know if Terra Firma's ready to rock. Department of War, yeah, it's Department of War now. It hasn't been officially changed. It's still the DoD. Has not been officially changed. Has not been officially changed. Oh, dude, I actually came in wanting to talk to you about something, but we got off on me calling you bad names, so I do apologize for that.
That's all right. I'm used to it. All right, Terra Firma, you're on the air.
Oh shoot!
Oh shoot! What? All right, go ahead, Steve. What were you thinking? What were you?
A relationship type thing I had going on last night. A girl I really like. Yeah, super sweet girl. She's a bit of a crackhead, but I'm willing to look past that if I get what I want out of a relationship, right?
Okay, so you met a crackhead somehow. Where'd you meet her?
Right. Oh, well, in crackhead places.
All right, so you went to crackhead places, you found a crackhead girl, and yesterday you were talking to her.
Super sweet, right?
Yeah.
Right. She's on that gimme bullshit, right? I'm trying to be like, I'm the stable man. I'm Mr. Cash App, okay?
Uh-huh.
She stands me up. I go get another girl, and then she calls. As I get the other girl, I put her on speaker. She hears the situation I've got going on because I'm mid-stroke with the other girl. She gets super jealous, comes over. They fight. They argue. It turns out the other girl gets out. She gets in. It's basically like I'm telling her, like, I could pretty much supplant her drug dealer boyfriend. I could do his job a lot better than he could. But her thing is like, okay, but do it. You know what I mean? Like that was her response. Is like, okay, beat him. So my thing is like, I want to put a baby in her belly because she's broken in all the right ways. I want to put like 3 or 4 kids in her, and then we can like make a terrible fucking situation become even more terrible and awful. So
there you go. You could make a.
What do you think?
I think you're making America great again.
I think so too, man.
That's what America's all about. Let's have some broken babies with the broken people, and let's have let's bring some generational trauma through it. I love it.
Exactly. Well, that's the thing. It's like, but I'm aware. You can't be played if you're aware. You're not getting played if you're aware of you're being played, right? Like, I know how this is going to end, but in the end, there's going to be like 2 or 3 kids that'll have a good shot. I hope.
You
Still
think
have
they'll
a
have a good
daddy that's
shot?
seen it.
Sure, yeah,
Yeah.
they'll have a good shot with their crackhead mom.
Their crackhead mom and their what would my situation would be? I would be abetting it or feeding it, right?
You would be a rambling man. You're the rambling man.
Sure. No, but
You're the rolling. Mama was a crackhead. Daddy was a Rolling Stone. Sounds like an old country song. I should write a country song about it.
That's what I was thinking. It's like this is one of those stories in the books where a kid becomes a millionaire because everything in his life was so fucked up. You know what I mean? Like this
there you
is one
go.
of those.
You nailed
this
it.
This is the seed.
Terra Firma, I'm gonna bring you live. How you doing, Terra Firma?
Not bad. Yourself?
I'm just loving life. I'm hearing Steve's story. Did you get much of Steve's story?
Yeah, that's crazy.
Good times.
Not exactly something I would do, but to each his own.
Yeah, that's what they say. To each his own is wonderful. Yes, indeed. Paul McCartney said it. Yes, definitely. I support it. I say throw caution to the wind. Do what you want to do in life.
Yeah, I'm kind of leaning towards the responsibility and doing what's right, but yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. Co-Cider says it costs $80 a day to keep a crackhead minimum.
Yikes.
There you go. Terra Firma, what's on your mind? What's the deal and how you feeling?
So I'm looking at your to start with the last caller, I was just saying that he's talking about worried about being white from a white dude here. I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried about surrounding being by white people. I'm just I think there's beauty and diversity. I think that I have good friends who are white. I have good friends who are all different colors, and it's a beautiful thing when you can have cultural people to come together and aside their differences.
Do you think that we, by lifting up other races, are doing so at the expense of the white man?
I don't think that is ever a threat. That's something that started, way back in the times when, plantation owners would, they felt like they're being outnumbered, and so they had to kind of keep a way of keeping people down. I don't think anybody
definitionally true. It's actually just a category thing. You think that just because I think about it, my friend, if there's 10 jobs and there's 5 black people, 5 white, one tribe gets, you add 6. I'm struggling. No, it's a definitional thing.
Well, if there's 10 jobs and
right.
and there's 20 people applying, right? But what if everyone just has to work less now that everybody can work? Maybe that'd be great. I mean, right now we're working more than our grandparents did, and we have a greater output, but all of us are working more hours than our grandparents did. And we don't have a commensurate proportion of output. Like if you work twice as much as your grandfather did, but you're only outputting 25% more product, that ain't a good investment. But that's kind of where we're at right now. We should all be working less and producing more, if you think about it.
I kind of stepped on his toes, and I do apologize for that with a shitty analogy. I really am. But by definition, whenever you bring in somebody from another here to take a job that would have gone to somebody that was born here, black, white, Hispanic, Korean, Japanese, you are supplanting and diluting that person, the native population's economics. You dilute.
Yeah, but you can argue that point. And there's really no data that says that you're taking away anything from anybody. If anything, we have a shortage of people here.
Complete.
If you look around the world, even
complete false. I gotta go.
Hold on a
All right,
second.
that's completely false. That is absolutely absurd.
Are you
You
leaving?
can just be wrong. Yeah, if he wants to be wrong and sit here and tell lies, he has
Well, it's not a lie.
no fucking
It's not
clue
a
what
lie.
he's talking about.
It's not a lie.
Buddy, absolutely, I can prove it beyond a shadow of a fucking doubt. If you want to sit here and be just like dumb fucking leftoids, I'm not going to sit here and listen to it. So fuck that. Just,
show me the data.
Absolutely,
Give me some
absolutely.
data.
I would love to. Where's a good way for me to send you the information?
a data.
You're not the native population, my friend.
Okay, listen.
Oh, okay.
Hold on a second. Hold on a second. Now I'm gonna put my picture between you guys so I can be like I'm the voice of reason here. Um, when any population enters, they're also consumers. Again, they don't just come in and take jobs and that's the end of the day. They come in and they also consume. So they end up making more jobs because they buy more sandwiches at the shop.
You want to sit there and say that, and you're not talking about remittances. We're not talking about the hundreds of billions of dollars that goes back to India. You want to be a dumb fucking leftoid. I'm not going to sit here for the conversation. I'll just listen to it later, bro. We're good. I appreciate it, bro. Thank you.
Okay, all right.
Hey, don't get offended. That's what it's about.
I mean, we are trying to have a dialectic here, but that's all right. I don't think that the problem with this thing about the dilution of the white race or of whatever's happening, with the jobs. When other people come and take jobs, they also go to the supermarket and buy more stuff. They start businesses, and then you have more businesses that need more jobs. They don't just come and take jobs. They come and they also eat and pay rent.
Right.
And do all sorts of stuff. They have gardens that need tending, so they got to hire more gardeners. It's everything. So they also create jobs. Like, they don't just take jobs; they also create jobs. Is the point because of basic economics. Let me see. Parallel. I'm sorry to cut you off, but I got Parallelist just bought a membership. Thank you so much. Become a Sky City Rebel. It's not a pie that you get a smaller piece of, Steve. The pie gets bigger, if anything. The pie gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and there's more and more and more slices. Exactly. Which is why America grew the way it did, and other countries didn't. That and many other things, but that's one of the reasons.
And then it's a misnomer, it's a lie, and it gets people fighting, and that's the problem. Is it's always the race versus this is race. And if people would just truly get beyond that and realize that we're fighting each other, meanwhile, we're being enslaved.
Yeah, I guess the biggest problem for me is that that's always the case, right? It's like, look at those, I don't know, XYZ xenomorph. Look at the people coming in from another country. They're the problem, which is bullshit. It's the billionaire that's actually taking all my money. The foreigner coming to take a job actually contributes something as well. The billionaire who underpays people and exploits me in the resources and everything that is my birthright, the billionaire is exploiting my birthright, not the foreigner. And yet no one wants to talk shit about the billionaires for some reason. Although it's growing. People are starting to wake up about that, I think.
Well, and the thing about trickle-down economics, if you look at from the 50s, they were paying over a good percentage of tax. You look at the top 400 richest people, they were paying over 50% of the tax, and now you're starting to see that dynamic shift, and they're really just making way with it.
Yeah,
and getting people to understand that trickle-down economics didn't work.
It's funny, and also those foreigners who come in and are working those jobs that we're talking about, they pay a higher tax burden than the billionaire. Again, it's like no matter how you slice it, the foreigner just isn't the guy to blame. He just isn't the one. And if anything, if you're afraid of the white race being diluted or whatever, then blame the billionaires. It's their fault. They're the ones fleecing the white race. It's their thing. It's crazy to me that it's weird to say. Hold on. To say that migrants don't stagnate wages is to say corporations aren't evil, greedy rats. Well, again, whose fault is it? Is it the migrants or is it the corporations, the CEOs, the board members, the billionaires? Whose fault is it? I see somebody asking how to join the chat, how to join the call. You join the call by going to morningsky.live/PYB. It's also linked and pinned in the chat on YouTube. I hope it's pinned. It might not be pinned on every YouTube, but if it's on morningsky.live/PYB. morningsky.live/PYB. All right, thanks, everybody. Please continue.
Oh, no, I was, kind of just hitting at the racial thing is going to be the downfall of this country. But also, your question, too, did it change?
No, did I change
it? Number one, how is U.S. a democracy if our workplace isn't? I think that's an amazing point.
What do you think the answer is?
Honestly, it's all about leverage. You could lose a job doing your job and doing what's right, whereas there's nothing to protect you from losing your job. And
I mean, most states are at will employment.
Yeah, and at will is a nice way of saying they're always right, and you could lose your job for any old reason. And I disagree with that. I think people's employment should be protected to a degree.
Yeah, I mean, which affects you more, the politics that you get to vote for every 2 to 4 years, or is it the place that you spend 40 plus hours a week? And yet, we want democracy in politics, but not at work. It's insane to me that that's the way we do it. I can't believe that we're all okay with that in America. It's crazy. Samuel Bergeson, do you want to keep your camera on, or you want to turn it off? I can't hear you. You got to put it in the private chat if you're going to talk to me. But I'll put it on. If you're just give me a thumbs up if you're ready to come on. How about that? All right, he says thumbs up. We're going to bring on Samuel Bergeson. How you doing, Samuel Bergeson?
Good. How are you?
Fabulous. I'm kicking like a three-legged ninja. Do you have opinion about the one we're talking about whether or not we have a democracy if for 40 hours a week you live under dictatorship at work?
I do. So I very specifically do not vote and have not voted because I don't believe we have a democracy, and I find it much easier to talk to other citizens when I do not try and continually give them the message that they are actually being represented by their own government. I just find that very, very suffocating, and that it does not align with most people's actual experiences, which I think goes right into how people live when they're in their workplace, because that is where they are most of the time.
Yeah, and they're basically enslaved by billionaires and corporate entities. Terra Firma, do you vote?
Oh, yes. It wasn't always that way, but I felt like if I don't do anything, that's worse than doing something.
Yeah, I feel like I still vote out of habit, but I feel like I've got a gun to my head when I do it. So it feels like a. Also, in California, we have all of the DIY stuff too. We vote for all the ballot initiatives and measures and all the other stuff. We have a bunch of other stuff that we vote for besides just this, red or blue. But I tell people if they're going to vote in the primary where you actually have a tiny little voice. Once you've got a gun to your head, you're in a hostage situation on the general election. You're choosing between two assholes, and you got nothing. They're the same. Both doors lead to the gas chamber. Red and blue, no matter what you do, the money still goes to the bosses.
Well, and that's the problem is they've got the voting set up to where you got only red or blue. I think it should be across the board, independent, Republican, Democratic, whatever. I should get to choose from the whole buffet, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, we should be able to, but unfortunately, they pray to the same altars, right? It's all corporate money going to red or blue. That's who's in control. Like, the game is fixed. I get why people don't vote. I completely do. I don't tell people that voting is going to change anything. I do say that if you're gonna vote in the goddamn primaries, but. Like I'm with Samuel here. Samuel, yeah. Do you have something else on your mind to bring to the table, Samuel? Or
I had a bit because there's on your bonus question of which race is the most violent race.
Yeah.
And so I had an answer to that I think to me ties into the whole state. So I just out of curiosity, how old were you during 9/11?
22, I think.
You were 22. Okay, all right. So I think the most violent race...
I should have said how old do you think I was? Damn it. I should have said that. Damn. I could have fished a compliment out of somebody.
Listen, I was going to guess 17 or 18.
Damn it. Okay, I thought
but I think the most violent race are Vikings and other kinds of barbarian races like that have been kind of pushed off to the side as the world's become more civilized.
Interesting.
And I find it, because I'm Norwegian, very dishonest in most forms of discourse, because Vikings are not included in history when it's spoken about most of the time, because we were the ones who enslaved white people for a long time. And we were the ones who came to America before any of the other whites were here.
I'm
And
surprised you say that though. Like the Norse tradition, I think we make Disney movies about it. I mean, you even got a Marvel hero that's a Norse god. Every time you go to England, they always talk about the Norse. They always talk about the Vikings who came to England and Greenland and Leif
yeah, I
Erikson,
mean,
the whole thing.
I think maybe in Europe, I think it's maybe most salient to me because like we were the ones. If you're talking about white history, who like actually were here first, and it's just like this. It's a constant lie that is just very, very continually repeated a whole lot.
When you say first,
Yeah, I
I
mean,
mean,
I'm not saying doctrine of discovery, right? Like
yeah,
but in terms of just white people, like
yes.
it was barbarians who were here first, and it was
Well, there were probably some brown-looking Indian-type-looking people here at that point who had come across the Bering Strait, right? Those
right.
people,
Well,
were here
right.
first.
We weren't the first ones, but
Weren't the first humans, but like the first whiteys, the first Europeans.
in the arena of politics, with how much race is brought up, it's just like it's this massive blind spot
Yeah,
that I
yeah.
feel like is but I'm just Norwegian, so it might stand out to me more. But the reason I asked that in alignment with 9/11 is because I'm from Nebraska. I'm in Nebraska,
Mm-hmm.
and so we in Nebraska are the only state that has a one house solution to how we write our laws.
Well, Nebraska
So
does a lot of things differently. They also split the vote, so there's 4 electoral votes, and each one it goes depending on which district. So is it only 2 now?
it's only
It's 4,
two.
I thought. It's 2. It's 2 senators and 2 congresspeople, right? You get 4 in the electoral college. I'm pretty sure you guys get 4 in the electoral college. I could be wrong. Let me just ask Google real fast.
I mean,
'Cause
I would
think
default. I will default to you as a voter.
how many electoral votes does Nebraska get? Just a fact check.
Yeah.
No, 1992, 2 votes based on the distribution of electoral votes. 2020 election, only 2. You're right, and but they split it.
Yep.
They did split it though. You're right. It's 2. Thank you.
Yeah. So I just find in light of having grown up after 9/11, where every other constitution in America uses a 2-house system, and we do not. And the reason we do not is because when we had the Dust Bowl in the Great Depression, was we hit a rough patch financially as a state when we were still very young, not even 75 or 100 years old.
Yeah.
And they as a matter of principle condensed our Congress into only one house because that was what we could afford.
There weren't enough people either. Like everyone was leaving Nebraska. I mean, Nebraska didn't really recover until like the '60s. It took forever for Nebraska to get whole again.
It took a long time, and it took General Electric and a lot of large businesses. But like that's kind of always a sticking point for me, because I feel like when I'm listening to most Americans talk about what they want to be happening politically, there's still this ceiling of they want fiscal accountability as a principle, which it seems to be such an elusive thing that people have given up on it for like 100 years or more, coming from the rest of their constitutions.
People say that though, like they say they want fiscal responsibility. It's interesting because I get what you're saying. Like maybe we don't need the Senate, and I think we need a proportional Senate. I think we need a little bit of push and pull in the Congress if we're going to do this representative government thing. Like on the federal level, it makes sense to have a Senate, but to have only 100 of them, and each state gets, like California has the same number of senators as Rhode Island, is like fucking crazy to me. But I don't know, like Nebraska. First of all, one of my favorite places. I love. My father's from Nebraska. I've been to Nebraska many times. I love Nebraska. Okay. Yeah, I've been to Lincoln and Omaha and Fremont. I've been all over there. I've been all over Nebraska. Okay. And Grand Island. What's it? Grand Islands. I love the whole place. It's fantastic. It's a little flat for my. I don't think I could ever live there, but I really like it. But I think people say they want fiscal responsibility, but then they vote Republican, and we get into endless wars. And so they say it. It's kind of like people say they want to lose weight, and then they wait in line at Whataburger or McDonald's or Dairy Queen and they eat in their car out of plastic and paper boxes. It's like they say this shit, but they don't wanna. You know what I mean? And so, like, the way Republicans have figured out that they can preach, they could preach austerity, but they don't actually deliver austerity. What they do, they say, okay, what we're going to do is we're going to tax you less, and we're going to cut government services. But they don't. They still tax you the same amount. They cut some government services, and the government services that they can't pay for, they just borrow for. And so we get into debt. Because people don't want to not have Medicare and Medicaid. And so, what? Go ahead, Terra Firma.
Oh, no, I was just, we were talking about fiscal responsibility and corporations, they have leverage over elected representatives. And I think that's also the downfall to America, because the Constitution restrains only the government. And so now you have this weird,
you're cutting out there, but I think I got your point that we have this weird thing where, like, Citizens United, where corporations are able to contribute to politicians, and when you are in the corporation's thrall, you don't get much scratch. Like, you don't have any rights. You have no rights when you go through the doors of your business. Somebody else has rights over you. But what do you think about that, Terry? What do you think about that, Samuel? Do you think that people actually want to have fiscal responsibility? Is that actually what they want? Because as soon as you start doing austerity measures, people cry, and then they borrow money. So they cut the taxes of the rich so that we can't afford, I don't know, mental institutions anymore. So we don't have mental institutions anymore in America. And we say, okay, that's no problem, because we'll have Medicare and Medicaid. So if you get in trouble and you have a mental problem, we'll pay for your drugs. And then we cut that too, because we cut the taxes for the billionaires again. And so now we just don't have any services. And so if we want to keep Medicare and Medicaid, and we want to keep mental institutions, the few that we have, we got to borrow money from, I don't know, China or corporations. I mean, we don't actually want fiscal responsibility.
So I think this is, to me, wrapped up into, I remember hearing about when, after the Oval Office decided to drop the 2 atomic bombs, the warning that the president at that time left for the people was the greatest threat to the United States of America was the military-industrial
complex. That's right. Yeah, that's right.
And that, to me, seems to be what is winning today, what is really making and leading most of the decisions, and that the constitutions and the ways of operating themselves formally have always made the claim that they are a superior form of government to having a king, because they will continue to produce better results. But what I hear people continuing to say and talk about is that, in all practical terms, we're not financially responsible. People who have all the money continue to be able to just roll through things totally unchecked, continue to be able to put all the stuff on not only the backs of citizens, but like it's the children of the
backs of future generations.
Right. Yeah. And now, to me, it feels like even after 9/11, there's a big like brouhaha of, everyone's father's going to go die in the war, and we're just going to brute force through and fix everything, to where eventually it seems to me just to be at a point where I'm like, just in terms of running a military without a king is the major claim that the Constitution, and like for only 250 years, is just a drop in the bucket for human history.
But really long for a democracy.
Very long for a democracy, and yet we're like, was it $37 trillion in debt or something like that?
Some number that none of us can understand.
Right. All right. And what is, whenever I watch the news, I continue seeing the military, like it's a Department of War, and they're openly saying that it's so they can make money. And I just keep running through loop. I'm like, even in terms of doing barbarian things and being barbaric and where the men watch their sons die and all of that, I'm still like, I don't see a path where there's even just a basic guarantee of peace amongst the elderly men of society, where it's even clear that not having a king who's specifically accountable to the military, to the people as this intercessor, is even a good state, because I don't hear anyone continuing to have hope in the Republic or Democratic like either way, having hope that there is actually a better answer, because things cannot continue being done in the way they are fiscally, which then we might just wake up, which is, just wake up and realize we're practically enslaved by employers under tenancy, which, but it's like the whole thing's still like, well, it's better than having a king.
Well, it is better than having a king, but I think there's also some silver lining about just the cyclical nature of generations. Like you kind of brought it up about like fathers and sons and watching their sons die and watching their fathers die. This type of thing seems to happen, and we have these giant bloodbaths every 100 years, and at least since like recorded history from like 1200. We have these major bloodbaths, and then society globally seems to bounce back, and they create institutions that make sure that this never happens again. And then you have a generation of basically peace and prosperity. It seems to work for a while. And then the next generation after that, they start getting some anxiety about the institutions, because those institutions have become corrupt. Those institutions are enslaving people. Those institutions are just feeding themselves just so that they can maintain their power and for sake of having an institution. So what do we have to do? Another big bloodbath to tear down those institutions once again, because those institutions constantly fail us. Now, the Enlightenment says, well, maybe if we have a republic, we could keep that shit from happening. Well, that's what they did at the Weimar Republic. It didn't work because some of those institutions and some of the ones here, we didn't kill all our Nazis. The Nazis are still here. We never got rid of all the Nazis. Yeah, right. Operation Paperclip. But even just like, if you think of, like, most historians think that like the KKK and during the plantation stuff, a lot of that was like proto-Nazism, proto-fascism, and kind of like the birth of modern fascism was around that time. And so those people didn't go away. We still have them. And what we did, we built institutions to keep us from our worst demons, right? So that we have fascism, but we're never going to feel the really, really bad shit of fascism in America, because they have this thing called a constitution that's it's a contract that we're not going to do it all the way. We're just going to put the tip in when it comes to fascism. So I think there's even though I agree with you that like, we're going to have these, where people are waking up, there's going to be revolution and rebellion. On the bright side, it doesn't look like it's going to take like a French Revolution style bloodbath to have some pretty significant change, or significant enough that we see some upside. So I go back to, like, I'm pretty stoked that there's been 15 warehouses that have burned down. Man, if there were 100 this year, do you think they might start making some changes? Do you think that the world might change a little bit when they've got to start locking up the goddamn paper towels and they got to have armed guards for the toilet paper? You think that things are going to start they're not going to let it go that far. They're going to make some changes. So,
well, I think that the silence has always been a tool of theirs to create power. Yeah. If got the No Kings movement, it's starting to happen even overseas. And I think that's a sign that, people are aware and that they're saying something about it. That's the first step. And then just kind of, breaking the over-leveraged power balance against, the people.
Yeah, it doesn't have to take that long. Like, if you think about just the American Revolution, when communication was slow and travel was slower, you could really, Thomas Paine wrote Common Sense just a decade before the war. Like, these things happened so quickly. Articles of Federation, all these things were happening. People were writing stuff down. People were talking. And aren't we there? Like, I feel it in the air. I need to, we have a donation real fast. Debt is magic. Debt is magic for the first and second generations. Debt is toxic for those who have to pay it off. Inflation is the mechanism through which we pay. Yeah, it's funny. We can look at the last century, the English century. They basically overextended, right? They overextended the English Empire. They took a bunch of debts. They were in cahoots with the corporations, just like we are today. They had corporations waging war on the government's behalf, which we are doing now. It's almost like just we basically became our oppressor. We basically became Great Britain, and we've written checks that our asses won't cash, our kids' asses will, and England made it. They're still here. They're just not they're still a nuclear superpower. I mean, people still care about England. Thank you thank you for the mission.
I think the problem is people don't care about the future generation. I've heard people with kids say, well, that's their problem. And I'm like, how can you say that? Like, your kids are going to have to work harder or suffer more because we made a bad decision today. And so that's why, for me personally, I think I'm not going to just vote. I'm going to try running for something because, it's just frustrating to sit on the sidelines and just watch them, run away with it. It's crazy.
Yeah, G. Chanchar says that Britain just paid their war debt a few years ago. It's true. Like, I think that's a weird phenomenon, right? Like, oh, well, I made it to this country, so I'm going to close the door behind me, pull up the ladder so that no other immigrants can come in. You see that? Oh, I made it to I had to deal with my parents' debt, so fuck my kids. Let them have some debt too. Like, there seems to be that. It's a weird phenomenon that I don't get, because I'm bitter that my parents were working class, my grandparents were working class, and all of them could have gone to the University of California for free, but I had to take out loans to go. Like, first-generation college student, and I had to pay my own way. Meanwhile, they could have gone for free. Like, bruh, I should have... What the hell?
And that's the first sign you see of the tax change, because, after the 50s, you start seeing the tax, the people who are bringing in $38,000 every minute, they can afford to pay the extra tax. I'm not saying we should just burden them beyond belief, but the problem is it's starting to flip. And so those people who went to community college for free are now having to pay for it and pay tax. And that just doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it's funny, because I was first-generation college student, I could go to community college for free, and I did. And they even gave me a bus pass and paid for my books. I was stoked. And so I got off light, and I only went to 2 years at Berkeley. But Berkeley, it's a public school, so it's cheaper. Because I got into Harvard, and I wanted to go to Harvard or Berkeley, and Harvard was like $30,000 a year, and Berkeley I think was like $6,000, but you had to live in Berkeley, and it's very expensive, so you end up with debt no matter what. But it's like, so I got a bunch of waivers. I got all these. I got a good deal when I went to Berkeley, but it was still it was such a huge financial burden. Even with all the scholarships and Ford loans and even all that stuff, I still ended up screwed. And my parents could have gone for free. What the hell? Yeah, it's not right. But I don't know. I mean, what do you think? What do you think there, Samuel?
So I'm thinking in relationship to the first point. We live in a democracy. If you can't talk like it at work, because I was homeschooled. Which was illegal in Nebraska after it was mandated by
the government
Washington.
during COVID?
No, like this was like back in the 70s.
Oh, okay.
And then the parents had to go in, fight with the state, go to jail, do a whole bunch of stuff to get their kids back. But when I was a kid, I just get up, every day, and we just go to, we walk down the street, but it's like we're going home to be homeschooled and have our whole education. Mm-hmm. But it's like the kids have been like forcibly removed from like participating with each other economically on the street. Mm-hmm. And it's been done in a way where, like I'm from Nebraska. So I have this part of like if you're going to pick corn and do a bunch of like da 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 da, you don't have to have 18 years of education, do a whole bunch of this stuff. And then a lot of times, 12-year-olds are totally capable of starting apprenticeships. Like the basic way education has worked for so long has been so formally changed. And now it's at this point where I feel like when I'm talking with other American citizens, it is like rich people have managed to leverage this wall in between everyone because they've taken their kids. They formally own and dictate most of the children's opportunities to even get to a point of being economically viable. And then even after that, people get to the ceiling where, you've got your college degree, you've done all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter because you're still formally obligated to be working 60 hours a week, basically.
Yes.
And so there's this part of me where, like, I feel like just by having faith in people and kids, or I'm like, there's just this huge, like, we could just let up a lot and just like, I mean, it's so complicated, but it's only been changed like within about a century.
Well, it's not as complicated when you talk about they're separating us, they're putting divisions within us so that we can't interact in ways that are meaningful economically or otherwise. Like what you're saying, I think is spot on. When they do that, like you said, even when you reach that upper ceiling, well, they just raise the ceiling. And so now, yeah, okay, you went to college, you kept your nose clean, you stayed out of trouble, you got married, you had the kids, you did everything you were supposed to do, everything everybody told you to do, and you still can't make ends meet. You still can't get ahead. You're still not like it's like now you can't pay your mortgage, you can't pay. It's always another goalpost.
Mm-hmm.
If my parents, without college degrees, made the same amount of money as I was with a college degree, and I'm talking dollar for dollar, not adjusted for inflation. 30 years later, when I was at the height, I made the most money I made all my life per year. My parents were making the same amount of money with no college degrees, and it's like, and my dollar has less buying power. Like if you have a job right now that pays you $150,000, it's still considered a good job, and it's not. You're still fucked, even at that level. Like you're not rich, and you should be. $150,000 should make you rich. in 1985, $150,000 got you a lot. Today,
Right.
you can't even afford to live in Los Angeles for $150,000. Hold on, before you chime in, let me get to Hate Speaker's comment. Thank you so much for claiming they're worried about young people's economic future. Meanwhile, those kids are competing tooth and nail for entry-level jobs against millions of both high-skill and low-skill workers. And they're competing more. Sure. I mean, that's true. There's fewer jobs to go around, which makes it so that $150,000 is still considered a great job, even though in 1985, $150,000 was considered a banging job. Like you could raise two kids, one income, $150,000 would have you could have put both kids through college. And
and the problem with that though is, you have a group of people who are running away. Not only do they over leverage, and I'll give you an example, Trump over leveraged a lot of people. Let's talk Trump University. He settled and still made money. So did the Sackler family when they created the opioid crisis. They paid like 0.01%, and yet they made billions of dollars. And then they're over leveraging people. I mean, if a rich man takes you to court, you're going to lose.
Yeah, they could bury you with paper. Yeah, I mean that's the judges are there for them. The cops are there for them. I mean, that's just something that we need to talk about more, I think, because it's just we're not on equal footing. There is not a meritocracy in this country. And forget about fighting the rich. Try fighting your corporate boss. Look, man, I had a friend. I worked with him at MGM, and he had been falsely terminated over at Caesars. And he couldn't get a job for a year because that's how long it took to fight them. He won, and he got I think he got like $110,000 or something. But a horrible hardship not having a job for a year, and he couldn't do that because the corporation could stall, and that's how they do it. They know you probably can't go for a year without income, and they know that they can wait you out. They don't give a shit. So, and by the way, third-party arbitrator's probably going to be the one who's going to do it. So you're not even going to, you can't even get a day in court because the fucking corporation has precluded you from such.
And the arbitrator is hired by who? It's not by you.
Yeah, it's their boy. Exactly. And it's their lawyers. It's their arbiter. Everything is like, you sign a thing saying, yeah, sure, a third-party arbitration. Because what are you going to do? They're just not going to give you a job if you don't. And they all do it, and now they're making you sign NDAs every time you get a job. That's insane. I one time had to sign a non-compete clause so that if I quit this job I couldn't go to their competitor and take a job with them. That's insane.
Well, and the problem is they lobby, and then they have think tanks going around and spreading misinformation, trickle down in economics. Oh, they know what's good for me, and these think tanks are propaganda, really.
Yeah. I mean, how many people in the chat? How many times have you gone to a job and they changed your compensation package while you had the job? That's happened to me in almost every job. I start a job and they change my healthcare provider, or they change my. I was at one where they covered death insurance, life insurance. I mean, and then they changed that where no, it's only going to be $5,000 now, and it'll cover your funeral. But before it was like $100,000, and it was going to cover your salary for a year or something. They just change it on you willy-nilly, and there's nothing you can do. They just change your compensation package.
Well, and here's just another example. People are having a hard time pay their bills, right? And you got utilities, and people are paying late. Well, now they're making laws to where you get double down deposits. And how is that going to help you pay your bill? I mean, really?
Man, I'm terrified about that right now. With my electrical bill, like I live alone. I don't turn on shit. And yet my electricity bill keeps going up. My kilohertz or whatever are going down, but the price is going up. Like my bill's going up, but my usage is going down. That ain't good.
It's probably because we're sharing it with these data centers that are using
that's part of it. It's also because they have like infrastructure that they're building, and all of the raw materials are more expensive. They sent me a letter saying, hey, we were building shit. We're still building shit so that we could continue to give you your electricity better and blah, blah, blah. But in order to build the shit, now it's going to cost 30% more because of the tariffs.
Well, and here's something interesting. I paid my bill, again, ahead of time. So if it's based off usage, how did I pay it ahead of time?
Oh, yeah, good point. Good point. Yeah, good point.
So I went to Dartmouth for a while and was in like biomedicine there. And when I was it's this like academic private research type stuff. But what I found when I was there was basically everything that is being done by the education system at the highest levels, when it becomes economic and economically viable, even when the American people have paid for it, for medicine even, it gets scraped off of the top of the universities and sent into Wall Street, and then spun around, and they've got entire ways of financing things where they might go through 3 or 4 different businesses to get to a drug that works, but they're taking the products of the education system that are created by the American people, they're paid for by the American people, and then handing them off.
And then they're patented, and they sell the patents to the corporation.
Right. Yep. And then they will come back in and then charge people just to be able to die in peace.
Yeah.
And it is this complete cycle. But I still, I guess I am kind of curious, because I cannot think of a better solution to being able to get people back down to an actual business table where they can formally just do business honestly with each other without getting the military industrial complex out of the way, because of how much like emotion and investment and identification so many people have with this entire brouhaha. We don't have a king. We've got the best military in the world. And yet that's the system that is every single day, like making things more and more and more hard, like physically painful on people's bodies, just to be able to make it to the end of the corn row and leave the farm field for their kids.
But Samuel, what you're talking about is the failure of capitalism. That's really what you're saying, because at the end of the day, we've industrialized education, and what we do, we send raw materials, which is young people mostly. We send young people that the government has paid for to educate to a certain point, and then we send them and we give them a bunch of money so that they can add labor and create product. And the product is better minds that supposedly will contribute to greater national security and just basic good vibes in America, but also they spin off these products like you're talking about. Stanford and Harvard take billions of dollars from the American taxpayer, and they create drugs like you're saying, but more than just drugs. It's also new ways to drill oil, fracking technology. All these things are spinning out of our universities. And what they do is they sell those patents for their discoveries or ingenuity, and they make another product out of that so that they continue to make money. So these institutions exist for institutional sake. And that's just capitalism. It's just another boil on the ass of capitalism. And I really think the only way what you're saying is, so two things. What can we do to get out of it? I think that like a digital commune, I think that what we're doing now, like with the internet and stuff, we're starting to kind of pull away where intellectual property and intellectual products are being contributed to in this weird cloud that we're creating. So I think that we could kind of exist parallel to capitalism in a way that the hippies couldn't do when they built their communes, I think that there's a movement towards that, I think. Or we could just burn it all down. That's the other one. We could just burn it all down and start again. And I'm okay with that too.
Scott, I always have this saying, there's a balance to everything. And, I believe that if you have capitalism unchecked, you get fascism. But if you have socialism unchecked, you get communism. And I really feel like the silver lining is a balance of both, and we lean either one way or the other, and it's devastating.
So it's interesting. So the communism thing, communism is a stateless society, right? We haven't had that yet. What we have, but let me augment what you said and try to agree. If you let capitalism go unchecked, you get authoritarianism. If you let socialism go unchecked, you get authoritarianism. Authoritarianism can arise from either side. I see someone in the chat talking about capitalism failing, and let me try to get someone from the chat. Capitalism has failed from John Anthony. We've had socialist programs since the 1930s. Why can't we take the good from all systems? Well, that's the goal. Is to try to take the good from all systems, and we've done that since before these terms, by the way, before everyone knew what capitalism, socialism, before we even had those terms. That's what people did. They try to mercantilism. I think Donald Trump, for example, is more of a mercantilist than either of capitalist or socialist, or communist, whatever. But anyway, we always try to cobble it together and try to build something that's good for our people. That's what we try to do. But what capitalism does is it empowers and encourages the greedy class and the lazy class to rise to the top, amass large columns of wealth and power, and influence that cobbling together. So you don't ever get a balance. So like I agree with you, Terra Firma, and John Anthony here. We need a balance. Of course we do. Because we have to have like temporary hierarchies and term limits so that we don't have people stay in those situations for long. We need to have, I think, a thumb on the scale for democracy, for example. We need to keep authoritarians from rising up. But the more capitalism you get, the more you get these like, I think you get more authoritarianism. Oligarchs, yeah. You get like a bunch of petty tyrants, and those petty tyrants don't actually have to communicate to conspire against the people. They don't even have to work together to conspire against the people. Because they go to the same golf clubs, they got the same interests, they know what to do without having to even have one phone call.
Well, and not only that, but there's something about democracy, but we also got to recognize that we're a democratic republic, because democracy, the masses choose what happens, but in a republic, you also have individual rights, so that there's that balance once again. The
republic, the reason why we did a republic is because the Enlightenment thinkers of the time weren't ready for direct democracy. They didn't trust democracy. They didn't trust the rabble. And so what a republic is the filtering of the will of the people through the oligarchy, through the elites. So yeah, we hear you. We want you to have a say, but the bosses are still going to be the ones to sign the papers. We don't trust the democracy. So that's all a republic is. And there's some also just like some utilitarian ideas, like I can't go to Washington D.C., right? I can't cast my vote in Washington D.C. So I need a dude or a lady to go over to Washington D.C. and represent me. And so there's just some like nuts and bolts stuff about that. But my point is more like, if you're going to make a decision choose more democracy, less authoritarianism, less oligarchy. I know you wanted to say something, Samuel. What was it?
Yeah, I mean, so I guess I kind of wanted to bump back in on I heard you talking about capitalism, but like I was saying specifically in today's world of the military-industrial complex and trying to bring that back into reign with a king specifically, because when I hear people start going into theories and descriptions of how economics work, I'm still coming at it from the historical lens of how Norwegians and Vikings interacted with Christianity, which was we stopped enslaving Christians and allowed them to become tenants and just became their bosses instead. So in the world of today where people are saying, I feel like we're still becoming enslaved by the same system of tenancy, there's details about how the rest of the money works when the people are doing their 9 to 5, 40 hours a week. But when you look at the nations in Europe that have retained kings, they haven't gotten rid of parliamentary procedure. They haven't gotten rid of these large swaths of things.
Well, but those things are won at gunpoint or sword point, right? That's not like those parliament. It's not like the kings allowed that to happen. They had to threaten King John with a knife through his throat in order to sign the Magna Carta. Like those things were hard won. You know what I mean? Parliamentary process and shit.
Right. But when you look at like say Norway, for example, how they operate, they have way more time off. People do not have the same complaints about being run into the ground working like they do here. They like everyone's given care packages when they have a baby. They've got some of the best prisons in the world, and they're Christian, so you think they're these like conservative, everyone's uptight, and yet when you look at their stuff, they seem super liberal socially, but they're just taking care of people. But
taking care of people at home. Like never forget though, don't make the mistake in thinking that there aren't externalities here. Like the reason why Norwegians are able to live like that in this kind of welfare state socialist utopia is because somebody is being impoverished someplace else in the global south. Somebody is paying for that somewhere else. Someone is enslaved because in order to achieve that, right? So I guess I can look at Norway and say, well, at least they're giving their people something. You know, that's nice. But is that because they have a king? I don't think so at all. You don't need a king for that.
No, and I mean we wouldn't need one either. But our problem is the military-industrial complex.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, dude, $1 trillion a year is a big fucking problem. I totally agree. Like, it's $1 trillion. You know what's funny? When I was in food and beverage in Vegas, right? A lot of times people would be like off the rails upset about something, right? Because of like, and I'd say, well, how much did this all cost you? What are we talking about? They're like, this is a $50 thing. I'm like, what? You're telling me you're crying about a $50 problem? Deal. I got you. I got your $50 right here. Let's comp your $50. And that's a $50 problem solved. Does that make your night? Yeah, it makes my night. Oh my God, thank you. You made my whole trip in Vegas for $50. Now, I got $1 trillion problem over here with the military-industrial complex. Like, $1 trillion. Holy shit! If you could go $999.9 billion and just take it all, shit. Give them $500 billion. Give them $250 billion instead of a billion billions or whatever the hell it is.
Again, you could just keep seeing increases. He makes an excellent point. You know, they told Bernie that we couldn't afford health care, which would have taken care of our elder generations. And here we are, another, $100 billion and then $10 billion in the war. And then you got ICE billions probably by now. So it's outstandingly.
Well, ICE had
horrific.
$900 billion budget. ICE had. I mean, that's a lot of concentration camps. $900 billion, dude, and $1 billion a day in the desert in the bombing of Iran. $1 billion a day. They say they want another $200 billion, but they say it's going to be over in 2 weeks. Why are you asking for $200 billion though? If it's going to be over in 2 more weeks, I want $200 billion. Like, you know what I mean? $200 billion. That's 200 days of bombing. What are you talking about? So, yeah, when you say military-industrial complex, I think it's fucking painfully obvious for everyone except for Elon Musk, because if you really wanted to doge the country, you would start one place and one place only. And that is...
Nebraska.
Nebraska, exactly. No, yeah, but you start with Samuel. No, you start where Samuel's saying. You go after the military. You go after the Pentagon. We know where the money's going. $1 trillion a year. If you cut that fucking $1 trillion a year out, 37 years we'll be back in the green.
Yep.
Yeah. So I guess so. I have a question because I was 3 years old when 9/11 happened. So for you guys who are just older Americans who already like had a consciousness and like stuff like that when that happened, it very much feels to me like the Pentagon has been this like really like the military industrial complex has been this morally ironclad institution for a long time. And it's like my generation is just kind of walking into the world where that's not really the case. That's not really true anymore. And everyone's kind of just really upset about a lot of stuff. And to me, it seems like you can pretty much always take it back to the Pentagon and to that being just a morally untrustworthy institution. And then there's
that never passes an audit. That they never pass an audit. They lost Now let's go back though, because I want to hear what Tara Firma has to say about this too. Because I remember that very vividly. I was in my 20s and I became an anti-war activist when we started bombing Iraq. I marched in the streets in Germany in my opposition to the war in Iraq because it was bullshit that we were bombing Iraq again. And I already had friends that had been to Iraq. I had friends at that point who had already fought in the last time we were in Iraq when we were liberating Kuwait. So
Old Man Bush
when HW was doing it. So when W was doing the same fucking playing that same old song, except we were also in Afghanistan because we all thought Osama bin Laden was hiding out there. I'll tell you though, man, it wasn't ironclad. People were pissed. Hans Blixer and all these people, they were saying there's no weapons of mass destruction, in especially with the Iraq thing. In Afghanistan, it was a little weirder because of 9/11, and there was a lot of bloodlust, but it wasn't so ironclad. People were like, no, we're not going to do this. And then he started with the Patriot Act and Department of Homeland Security. People think that unconstitutional. Both are unconstitutional. The Department of Homeland Security putting that all under the executive branch and then starting the TSA and linking ICE and then calling it ICE. That was fucking weird too because it was INS before that. And they started having ICE agents show up looking different, and they were connected to the TSA and they were connected to FEMA. And don't forget FEMA. Katrina happened around that time, so it all looked like a clusterfuck failure. And we were against the concentration camps that ICE was building. We were against the Pentagon dropping because billions of cash dollars were going missing, by the way, the whole time we were in Afghanistan and Iraq. And then Abu Ghraib happened. And we saw that our soldiers were torturing prisoners overseas. And then the waterboarding thing happened. And we were like, our people are and then the CIA black ships. Do you remember that? The CIA black sites. And we had photographic evidence of planes taking people and bringing them to places and to torture them. And then we had
opioid farms in Afghanistan.
Yes, the opioid farms. And then we were surprised. And then people still today are surprised that we have an opioid epidemic in America. Like, where do you think they got, like, opioids are technically made in a lab, but you need to have a steady supply of opiates in order to.
And they can't legally grow it here, so they had to grow it over there.
And the CIA has always been involved in the in the opium trade, always. So I want to say, Samuel, and I want to say it really strongly, it was not always ironclad. We were always fighting the Pentagon. We were always saying these assholes are taking our money. We were always saying that the Department of Homeland Security, we fought when they told us to take off our shoes. We said, why the fuck am I taking off my shoes? All of these things, and the backscatter technology, and they still did it. And so I'm glad that people your age are starting to wake up, but don't think that we weren't always pissed about this. Like, I was always shit. George Clooney brought back that movie about Edward Murrow and showing us that it was like the Red Scare with the Patriot. I didn't even say the Patriot Act. They were spying on American citizens.
Yep, Snowden.
Yes, exactly. And then Snowden got crucified for showing us all that. I mean,
Yeah, he even redacted a lot of the information that would have harmed the U.S. and he he was just trying to do what's right. And
he redacted it and he released it through journalists so that they would also have a second look. I mean, the guy tried not to. Yes. So, I guess, man, it's hard for me because people your age, I guess if it must feel for you like this is the status quo, like this is normal with Donald Trump, and it's not, dude. It's not normal.
Well, just remember, your silence is complicitness. I mean, that's why it's inspired me to start thinking about running for something. It's probably not the easiest way, but it's if you don't do anything and you don't care enough to do anything, then whatever will happen. And so we want to, we love our home, we love where we live, but we also want to, the freedom that was supposed to be guaranteed to us through the Constitution.
Totally. I just got a quote. I just got a comment about Clear. Clear is a money grab via solution for a problem we created. Clear was always the plan. It's in Project 2025 that they were going to break the TSA, bust the union, close it down, and sell it out to companies like Clear. Clear is the fucking devil. It's going to control who can travel where, and that is how we get to true. That's like the true authoritarian hallmark. You start controlling people's travel, who could travel where, when, and for how much.
What do you think of Project 2030?
Man, I haven't gotten. I don't even know there was a Project 2030. Like I haven't read all that stuff. I mean, Project 2020.
Taxes and like insurance, like taxes and insurance, and everything goes up to the point where it's not affordable. Which we're kind of, you kind of see that's already happening, but it's going to get worse. Apparently, that's what I've been hearing.
If we don't do something about it, I mean, I think more structure fires is definitely a positive. And I haven't read Agenda 2030 yet. I know people in the chat are talking about it. I haven't read it yet. I'm worried about 2026 right now, guys. I'm thinking that I'm thinking if we have a fair and free election in 2026, I'll be surprised. And if we do, then we're just got to turn around and be on the treadmill and fight for 2028. And does anybody, I know you don't believe this, Samuel. Do you think that we're going to have fair and free elections in every county in the United States of America in 2028?
Every county? I mean, I would put like a scientific margin of error to just human corruption.
Yeah, but so far in the last 25 years, voter fraud was it's 4 zeros, 0.00008% of votes were frauds.
Yeah.
And now Donald Trump wants to control the elections in 15 counties. And it's really funny because right before he said that, I was saying that it just will take 12 counties. And now he's saying he wants 15 counties. I see you in the chat, Shay Array, but you got to at least turn on your microphone. I can't bring you on until you got a mic on. I can't even, there's not even a button for me to push until you got your mic live. But I mean, if he could just make it a questionable election in 15 counties, which is very easy, I think, then then we won't have any kind of. I mean, the democracy's over, guys. Even the illusion of democracy is over.
I mean,
go ahead.
Go ahead, Sam.
Sorry, go ahead.
Let's say I listen to. My parents are Republican. I come from a very Republican background. Which is, I think, maybe where my comment about the Pentagon having ironclad morality not being there anymore is. I don't even hear that among many Republicans and conservatives, where I've been listening to political commentary since I was like 9. And on that side, it seems to be going, their faith seems to be going downhill in the Pentagon. But I'm hearing people openly asking for a third term from Trump and for Trump. And it's pretty much like related to them being afraid of the military industrial complex or these other larger forces that be, and they think that Trump is just holding back a tide of.
He's like the catcher in the rye, holding back all of the. How serious do you think they are about not having about a third term?
Well, I feel like on the Republican side, there's a lot of people who, at top of the cream, well-meaning, can still see that the just greed of money and just evil from the love of money is becoming closer and closer to being prominent and at the surface, and pretty to me after 9/11, I'm like, I don't know how people didn't see that at all. But like, I'm hearing even people who are very conservative and, God bless the USA, are like, we cannot continue even believing that this is all hunky-dory and stuff's going to continue going in a nice crop circle all of the time. So then when I hear them saying they want Trump for a third term and stuff like that, it's just like, I hear it more as out of desperation because they are capitalists who don't have better ideas.
I mean, that sounds like what the libertarians are always. That's where I part ways with libertarians. They believe in personal freedoms and liberties, but they love the institutions of capitalism. And it's like, well, dude, who do you think is the biggest threat to our liberty and freedom? And it's a very weird loop that they find themselves in. They pretzel up, don't they? The conservative is interesting because it used to be the conservative wanted small government, right? But they loved some of the institutions. They loved the Pentagon. They loved the police forces. They love. They used to be really big into Social Security. They loved Medicare and Medicaid. They loved certain institutions, and now they've, I think, lost faith in those institutions as well. So what's left? If you are a conservative and you've always been about small government, I don't know how you think that Donald Trump's going to fix that. When Donald Trump he took over, he nationalized 10% of Intel. Like, that's wild shit. No president's ever done it before. And that's some communist authoritarian shit, dude. That's not like Mr. Conservative, laissez-faire economy. Same thing with the tariffs. Tariffs isn't laissez-faire Republican economy solutions. He is exerting himself as the might of the federal government. That's something that Republicans used to be dead set against. So if you're already, like I said, if you had faith in some of the institutions and that's gone, then what do you even have anymore? I guess you just have the cult of personality. Terra Firma, what do you think?
Well, you were talking, if you look at what he's been doing so far, you see a consolidation of power. You see multiple law enforcement agencies consolidate into larger entities. And that is a playbook that's been throughout history. And so you're right. It's concerning, but, I don't think it's too late. I think that if you get enough people who care enough to stand up for what's right and what's moral, like you guys were saying, I don't think it's too late. And that's kind of what's bringing me out to say I need to do something in my neck of the woods and see if I can affect a positive and moral change for everyone.
I mean, I don't want to poo-poo people who want to run for office. Don't get me wrong at all. And I think that especially at the local level, that shit's really important. I guess that's what you're talking about, right? Getting involved in local politics.
For starters, yes.
I mean, I think that's really important because all politics are local, and you can actually make a difference for your neighbors. I think we need more of that. We need more people getting involved in local politics. But I also don't think that we're going to tear down the master's house with the master's tools. I don't think we're going to do it from inside the house. I don't think we're going to do it by, I hear those guys on Pod Save America all the time. They're like, don't shit on the Democrats. Don't shit on the Democrats. You need to join the Democrats and change them from the inside. Fucking what? Like David Hogg? Like how many young people have joined the Democrats thinking that there was a chance to change it from the inside?
Have you noticed? Oh, go ahead.
Or
I was going to say, so how about we try and get people onto the order and the page of treating the two-party system as if they're economic monopolies, because they run the military-industrial complex. There is not another place to point the finger as the owners and managers of the military-industrial complex, except for the two institutions that have been in charge of the United States for over a century, and treat them as monopolies who have to be broken up, because that would be the main limitation you can get almost any capitalist to agree with you on, is that monopolies have to be broken up. So if we come in and say these two parties are monopolies, they're a poison to the system, we can't have a king, so we want to continue doing things democratically, so then let's try and bunker bust two monopolies, because these are things that the people who wrote the Constitution even warned us about. It would not work if we were locked into a two-party gridlock that's been here for over a century now.
And 250 years. I mean, George Washington spoke up against parties. He thought that parties were going to destroy the democracy eventually. I mean, the shit that he said. It's funny. You thought about George Washington? Yeah, George Washington talked a lot about it. He said George Washington, like he had a lot of flaws. Don't get me wrong. He was a slave owner and all the rest, but he also didn't suffer fools, and he hated this shit with the parties. He thought it was going to destroy our country in the future. So, but he also said, and a bunch of people back then were afraid of someone like Donald Trump, and not just Donald Trump, but about other presidents in the between then and now. But that the country's not always going to be run by enlightened men. That enlightened leaders will not always be at the helm. And so if we have these parties and these like affiliations with corporatism, with corporations and all that, it's gonna Donald Trump was inevitable. I say this all the time, right? It's both parties made Donald Trump inevitable, and here we are dealing with the sins of our fathers.
I agree that we should, like a monopoly, like he was saying, like. I think that they should get a certain amount of funding, no super PACs. It must come from people making less than a certain amount or something like that, because they're railroading the system. And
I think everyone agrees with you already. It's just that the people who need to make that decision are the ones that, like, it's just like King John didn't give up his power voluntarily. They put a knife to his throat. There's paintings of it.
That's
said you're
Viking. That's it's violent.
You're gonna sign the paper, or you're gonna get your head chopped off. But also, Lyndon B. Johnson didn't sign the Civil Rights Act because he thought it would be a nice thing to do. He did it because there were people in the streets. There was property damage. There was fire.
Right.
There were riots. People were dying. I mean, okay, they didn't put a gun to his head, but he basically had a gun to his head.
Yeah, throw the tea in the harbor.
Throw the tea in the. That's one of my favorite things about America is that it used to be, and maybe we're getting our chutzpah back, but it used to be that if you told us we're such little cowardly creatures, Americans, like, yes, beat us, yes, put us in our little room and we'll just watch TV, we'll shut up, we'll be good little boys and girls, but if you push us too far, we're going to burn it all down. We're going to burn it all down. And that's something that I feel like Americans are finally learning about themselves again.
So I used to be a former anarchist, and that's why I think I kind of picked up on your channel. Yeah. But I did realize that there's also a balance to that, because total anarchy is complete chaos and destruction.
Why?
Although when it's for the right thing, a little bit of rebellion is good, I think.
Why is it chaos and destruction? Everyone always says that, but I don't think it is at all. The reason why there's an O around the A is because O stands for organizing. You still got to organize. Like, anarchy isn't chaos. You still have economic structures and gift economies and all sorts of stuff, direct democracy. You even have temporary hierarchies in order to get certain tasks done. Like if we wanted to build a house, you'd have to elect a foreman, and the foreman gets to tell us all what to do until the house is done. You know what I mean? But the foreman doesn't go and take over my life. I don't work for the foreman for the rest of my life. Why would I? It's like anarchism isn't chaos. It's actually fundamental organizing at the human level. It just
at its purity. I mean, you're talking like no governance, no representatives, no, and in essence, you could go with that, but at some point, someone's got to make a decision. Or if I want to go and take Bob's tea kettle, there's nothing to say I can't. There's no order.
There's sense. All of us. There's all of us to say you can't. That's his tea kettle. Personal property still exists, and we still have consensual organizations, right? I guess it's more about consent, and it's not about the absence of governance. It's the absence of government. So that if you are going to be governed, that you truly consent to the governance. And I have never consented just because I was born here. I didn't consent to having to do everything this fucking government tells me to do. And they tell me to do a lot. They do a lot. And it's not okay.
That's like what I'm trying to talk with people who haven't been homeschooled. Because when I see the rest of American citizens, it's like, unless your father was going in and busting his tail and doing all this extra stuff just to get his own kids back. Most American citizens just get taken by the government before they can even speak English. It's like you're literally taken, and then they dictate and decide what information you're allowed to have for most of your
dude. And you know what's
all
funny?
of your formative years.
And there are alternative organizations for education, like the Montessori system and Waldorf and stuff like that. But and those are more kind of like anarchistic in nature. And you know what they did to the people who organized educational systems that were antithetical to the way of that you're talking about? They killed those people. They called them anarchists, and they killed them. Right, all over the world.
Yeah.
People who said, I think we should teach kids to learn based on what they like and give them more freedom so that they can access. They killed those people.
Right.
They called them terrorists, and they didn't. They
Right. Because
I'll give you an example. Look at George Washington, right? Like, he was running the country, but then what did he do after that? He went home and maintained his farm. It was a part of his life, but it wasn't his life like we have some career politicians. And I think Snowden said it best when he said the government just needs to be just barely efficient enough to run. And the problem is,
who'd you just quote? Who?
Snowden.
Oh, Snowden. I thought, man, because that's a really close quote to Emerson and Thoreau. They said similar things in the early days of Americanism, proto-American. I mean, probably, I'm guessing, that the government that governs least governs best.
Yeah, because now it's not oppressive. It's just to maintain just a certain amount of, balances and check, what we were supposed to do. But I think we got so much red tape and we got so much, federalism that it's become too efficient, and now they're just poking around where they don't, everywhere and everything.
Well, I wouldn't use the word efficient, but I get what you mean for sure. The idea that it's a career now, it's a lifelong calling. When government becomes a calling, it's not a profession. It's funny because you say George Washington. George Washington also was a general. He wasn't a general his whole life. He wasn't a farmer his whole life. He wasn't a president his whole life. You know what I mean? Like, that's the way it's supposed to be. You're supposed to, the way America's set up is that people who rise to the top and make a lot of money, they can represent their people for a while, and they go back to doing whatever the fuck they were doing before they got here. Not people like Lindsey Graham. He's been around for 25 years. I can't believe it. I got to deal with Lindsey Graham for 25 more years. Or Strom Thurmond. He was in power before I was born, and he was still in power for like 50 years. He was for most of my life, 25 years, I guess. I had to deal with Strom Thurmond. Chuck Grassley, the guy's like 100 years old. He's still in power. Like, that's not the way it's supposed to be.
You know what's interesting about that? They did a study or statistic. They said that only boomers have been, I think, is it presidents or in office?
Oh, yeah. There's not been a Gen X yet. There's not been a Gen X. There's only been boomers and older in presidency.
Mm-hmm. That's strange.
That fucking Kamala Harris was 60 years old when she was running, and she was still a young Gen Xer. There won't be any Gen Xers, man. There will they call them. They're going to be a lost generation. Like, that is fucking crazy that the people who grew up learning, the people Kurt Cobain's age, if God rest his soul, will never be president.
Yep.
Shit.
It's almost like there was a certain point in time, there was a tipping point and something happened, or maybe people just, don't believe in doing it, or I don't know, something happened.
No, man, I think what happened was the boomers created a system that benefited them and them alone, and in order to perpetrate it and perpetuate it, you have to stay in power, because they know as soon as a Gen Xer gets in power, they're gonna fucking they're gonna say, screw all this boomer shit. So you got to keep boomers in.
I have a question and then a statement. Are you a Christian? Are either of you guys a Christian?
I was raised in the church, so I don't know. I feel like I'm more Christian than most Christians, to be honest with you, Sammy. I don't believe in the invisible world, but I had to read the Bible, and I like the teachings of Christ.
Okay,
I am.
Okay, gotcha. So when I hear people talk about boomers and talk about really from 1980s and before that in America, I hear a very specific and pretty rigid game plan of men were able to own a house and completely financially provide for their wife, and the women just did not have to work. And it was more often than not, at least for the higher echelons of the people who were already on top, that the women just were not working. And then at some point in my grandma's generation in the 60s or so, that began changing and it's become less and less and less common. But to me, I've only heard that being pretty directly associated with the Christian belief that it's proper for the women to not have to work. And it is like this nice American dream economic bubble that has just continued to not be fiscally sustainable. And the only way I even see that, I mean, which then just goes back into the military industrial complex and Americans being given free land and land that's very cheap, which is just a finite resource, and we're hitting a clock on that.
Yeah, let me cut you off for a second. Guys, Vance is not Gen X. Who the fuck told you? He's 41 years old. JD Vance is younger than me. JD Vance is millennial. Who the hell thought he was? JD Vance is not Generation X, everybody. JD Vance was born he's born 1984. Makes him firmly millennial. Sorry, Charlie. But let me go back to the women. Women have never, that's all post-war craziness, dude. Women in the Christian religion were always working. I mean, read about early Americans. You think that in colonists, women just stayed home? No, they busted their fucking asses when they got here. They busted their asses on the boats. They busted their asses when they got here. That's who helped build the country. And then during the war, they went to the factories and they did the jobs of the men. And then after the war, a bunch of weird shit happened, right? All of a sudden it was nasty to be gay. Like, it got really weird that men coming back from the war wanted to reassert their kind of like male dominant structure. It was the first time Americans were talking about what masculinity was. It was a whole thing to try to recover from this crazy thing that happened in Europe, right? You basically stole all the men. They drafted all the men, went and killed a bunch of them. A bunch of them got killed. They came home. A bunch of abortions were out of control. You had a bunch of babies orphans, people had babies while these men were away. You had a bunch of people getting highest divorce rates in history, all while the war was happening. So you had to have something to bring back the society, and they basically decided that men were the kings, and every man's a king of his castle, and gay people are horrible, and women need to know their place, and blacks especially. So you got this post-war thing, this kickoff of the American century that isn't necessarily Christian, you know what I mean? And then in the 60s, you had women's liberation, where the children of that era were growing up. They're like, I don't want to live like my mom, hooked on Xanax or Valium. I don't want to have to live like that. It's you had women's liberation, and they wanted to work. The capitalists loved it. Of course, that was hijacked by the capitalists. Of course, that was hijacked by the corporation. The feminist movement was hijacked.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I was just going to say, you make a good point that the women working, if you remember, they made a deal, like corporations kind of did this. I don't know if it was known or unknown, but they made a deal where they said, we'll give you plenty of time for your children and this and that. Mm-hmm. And then look, here we are. Now nobody has time for their kid.
They don't have a maternity leave most places.
And then, this movement, I'm going to tell you something. So they always say, well, the Bible teaches the woman below the man. The Bible doesn't teach that. The Bible teaches men to stand up, not women to sit down. And I think that's an important.
There's also incredible stories about very powerful women in the Bible. Rahab,
right.
I mean, I'm trying to remember. They all got weird names, but there's Mary of Bethany. There's Mary Magdalene. There's a lot of them are Marys, but there's a ton in the Bible of strong women who helped the Israelites and the soldiers sneak into the buildings and stuff. There's it's so weird, this Christian thing that women shouldn't work. Let me read a contribution. Thank you for the contribution, DS King of Kings. Sky, if you were 25% more tech nerdy, you'd be a people's strongest free open source software advocate. You check out GPL licensed Softimes. I try, man. I'm pretty nerdy. I think I'm pretty high on the nerd scale, man. I do take old laptops and turn them into Linux machines and try to get them to do fun stuff. But I don't have the time right now. I'm trying to build a YouTube business. Give me a few years. Like I love the Mesh-tastic stuff. I love the open source software movement, and also the open source hardware movement. By the way, if you saw my Instagram feed, you would know how nerdy I was. I'm very much into like the women are making tech decks now, where they're turning purses into like personal computers and texting machines. So cool. Women are getting really nerdy too, and I love it. I'm here for it. Good Christian girls too, by the way. Thank you for the contribution.
And that was my point, was that, this movement where it's like subservient women, the Bible even teaches that everybody will, come before the Lord on their own turn, on their own circumstances of life. So, God honors both just as much as the other. The only time is, and this is with any relationship, at some point, someone has to make a decision. That I can tell you right now, as a married man, I consult my wife every day. Every day I talk to her, and she is remarkable, intelligent, amazing, right?
It's funny you say that. I just broke up with my girlfriend. One of the things I miss the most is like, does this look good? Is this okay?
Oh yeah, sometimes I'll leave the house
about random shit. Yeah.
She's like, don't wear that. I'm like, why? It looks bad. And I was like, yeah, I guess it does.
I guess most people just ask their AI chatbots now that, but I like asking a woman like, hey, how's this look? What's this? What do you think about this idea for my channel? What do you think about like all sorts of shit? Like I want them. I used to go get my hair cut every week at this thing, and she said that most men will go to the hair cutter with a woman to co-sign his hair decisions. So I mean, yeah. Let me see one more time. DS King of Kings. I don't have Insta. Don't know. I feel. No, I don't post much stuff like that because like I'm in my niche, right? If I start posting stuff about all my tech nerd stuff, like no one will follow. Like, but trust me, I know my way around a computer and Linux and stuff. I'm not so horrible. I know a little Python and a little. I used to design websites with HTML, like just typing it on Notepad. Like I'm pretty good. I feel like I'm pretty solid. Just saying. Let's see. Paris Kitty says the Bible says basically makes that you belong to God and females belong to men. Ugh. Well, it doesn't actually say that. That's what it says in the Old Testament. The New Testament doesn't really say that, Paris Kitty. And we're talking about Christians, not just the Bible.
Well, and that it doesn't. All creatures belong to God, for one. That's kind of a misnomer, and they're stretching it. And the text mentions that a woman should revere her husband, but it also says that a man should love his wife like he should love his body. So what does that say? I mean, like, men love their bodies, always flexing in the mirror. So it's reciprocal. I really don't think that it's over the top like that. This hype is making it.
I don't know. I think that the Old Testament should be thrown in the garbage, and that we should only talk about Christianity in terms of what Jesus said. So it gets a little. That's why I don't like talking about religion too much on the channel, because it just ends up like, well, in the Old Testament, like I see people already quoting the Old Testament, and it just bothers. We just get in a cherry picking contest. But since we're talking about this, and Samuel, you're a little bit younger, how do you feel about looks maxing? You down with it? You looks maxing?
It seems like a meme.
Are people in Nebraska looks max? Are all the young men in Nebraska looks maxing?
I've not seen anyone doing it in real life. I mean, I went to the gym when I was younger, but I've never done like the change in the shape of your jaws or anything like that. Is that a real thing? I thought it was a joke.
I mean, it seems like people are dying of it now. You got people ODing on meth because they're trying to get their cheeks to look more hollow. So, seems just like another stupid fad. Like when women 100 years ago were putting tapeworms in their bellies to make them skinnier, so they look like I've heard that. Flappers in the restaurant on the magazines.
Yeah.
So, what are you gonna do?
Yeah. Well, hey, Jack, I got to go, but it was great talking to you.
Sounds like a plan. Thank you so much. Don't be a stranger. Come back when you can. Thank you, Samuel Bergeson. Awesome. That was fun. Cool. We're actually winding down. Terra Firma, anything else you want to talk about before we go?
I mean, that was pretty much the gist of it. But like I said about the anarchy thing, I think that you make some good points, but I think total anarchy might be a bad idea. I think that, just enough to run is good, and believe me, I was like, yeah, just tear it all down, and even the libertarians, I was like, those guys are crazy, and now they might have some good points as well. So I don't know.
Well, if you think about it like this, all right, let me put it on just. If I could show you a chart, and I had everyone from like the alt-right, Nazi, like far right, all the way, and libertarians maybe a little bit more, and then you have the Republicans, you have the Democrats, and then you have the liberals, and you keep on coming left, and finally you get to anarchy, and finally you get to the alt-left, right? The crazies, like you said, the ones that are like, fuck this, let's burn it down, those guys. I don't think of it being like, it's all or nothing. It doesn't have to be, really. We don't have to think of it in terms like that, because nothing is going to be pure. You're never going to have pure communism or pure capitalism or pure socialism. You're never going to do it. It's just kind of impossible to be so pure. These are all just theories of social organization, really, how to organize society. We write theories. It's basically like philosophy, right? But if you look at the spectrum, all of those steps have something in common. And all of them believe in capitalism. The only one on the chart that doesn't is the far left, and I'm talking anarchists like me. I get pissed when people call me a liberal, because liberals believe in capitalism. And I don't think we can ever have a fair shake. I don't think everyone in America or the world will have a fair shake as long as we are all kneeling at the altar of the mighty $. That's my pitch.
Well, I'm liberal with my rights, so individual rights, that
is. Yeah, but then how does that make you any different than the Democrat?
Well, I don't even know if I'm Democrat or Republican. I thought it was one or the other. First I was Republican, then I was like, these guys are nuts. So then I went Democrat, and I'm like, these guys are nuts. So now I'm kind of a man of no party, if you will, and that's probably something we have in common. But I don't know.
Well, I think that most of us feel politically orphaned. And so when someone says to me like, well, we can't go all the way anarchy, well, then don't think of it like that. You get to cherry pick too. We all get to cherry pick. If you think parts of communism sound great, cool. You get to cobble together whatever personal philosophy of governance that you think will work, and just like the president's doing. Aren't we all just playing, we're all playing king of the world when we're talking about these things. I think the ones who are saying it's this or nothing, or it's this and it's only going to be this pure form of this, I think they're crazy. They're living in a fucking fantasy world. But
and anything man touches is flawed anyhow. So we both know this, that I've made mistakes. We all make mistakes, and so I think that's why the balance and the democracy part. If you got a large group of people, they're like, this guy's crazy. Let's say Trump. He's crazy. A lot of people think he's crazy. And the group can say that. But then there's also, the individual rights. Like you can't just, enforce your will over somebody or stuff like that. Because if it's just complete, and I know you're saying like a degree, if there is no rules or there's no anything to kind of have a boundary.
It's not about no rules. It's about no leaders. It's about no whips and chains. It's about no pointing a gun to my head to tell me what to do. There's still rules. All societies have rules. Like I can't, like if we have, of course we have rules. If you have 5 people together on a deserted island, they'll start making rules for each other. You know what I mean? Like it's not about living with 0 rules. As soon as you have, or else you'd have rape and all sorts of shit. Like, we have rules. We just don't have we just don't have a government deciding that for us. We decide that. And we consensually enter organizations knowing what those rules are.
Right.
And that to me seems like maybe the only ethical way to organize society. And that's why I call myself an anarchist when I'm pushed. I used to I didn't want to call myself an anarchist because people say like kind of what you're saying. Well, that's anarchy's chaos. But it's not. Like if you read anarchist philosophy from people who've been thinking about this a lot more than I have, then you realize, no, that was all just branding. That was all propaganda from the fucking capitalists, calling anarchists the bad guys and saying it's chaos and everyone's going to die. Women will be raped in the streets and they're all going to, like, you know? Anyway, but I really appreciate you bringing that up because I don't get to talk about this very often.
Yeah, it's something that, man, I was like full blown. I was like, yeah, no, nothing. And then I was like, well, that's not reasonable because if someone, parades on my house or something and tries to do whatever they will, that would be bad. So I had to kind of backtrack a little bit, but.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, well, I don't want anyone just walking in my house. Like, we still have personal property. Your house is your personal property. You'll still have guns. You got a gun. Like you can still stop people from taking your shit, or you can still protect the people you love. Like, I don't think anarchism even, if you think about, like, imagine a world, like a post-apocalyptic world, if we had to really start over and you didn't have the institutions of government, and you had 100 people and you had to organize them like in the movies, you'd probably start building some communal land. You'd have some land that belonged to all of you. You'd have some land that just belonged to you. You'd have a tribal council of some kind. You'd kind of live like the Indians, and that is and that's really close. That's really close to anarchism.
Sorry. And yeah, you make an excellent point. The Native Americans had a really good system. And I think that was adopted into our, Constitution. And I think that we started off good, but we've wandered and we need to find our way back. I honestly think
the Indians. Look at the Indians today. They've been genocided. They've been moved to land that's not theirs. They've been relocated, and they've been oppressed. Their children remain, like, still. If you are an Indian child, an American Indian child, you're more likely to end up in foster care than any other race, which is fucking crazy considering how few of them there are. And yet, and now their tribal councils are corrupt. Not all of them, of course, but there's a big problem with corruption in their tribal councils because capitalism is screwing them. Casinos and all this other shit have corrupted it. It's not like there's something burning in their hearts that corrupt. We tend to think like, oh, well, if we do anarchism, there'll be corruption because people want power and people want strength and people want dominance. It's not true. It's not true at all. If it's like looking at a chimpanzee in the zoo and saying that's how chimpanzees live, but that's not how they live. That's not how chimpanzees live. That's how they live in a zoo.
And I think, but I lean towards all men's hearts are deceitfully wicked, and that's good about democracy is there's oversight. But at the same time, you're always going to have the one guy who gets a taste of power and then he wants to take over. And so that's always a part of mankind, I think. We kill that.
Yeah, I mean, that's like, there's seriously, oh, you're so ambitious that you want to what? Put us all in what? Chains? Nah, we got to kill you. Sorry, buddy. Yeah. Like, in anarchism, there aren't the mechanisms by which to amass that power too. So we don't actually have to kill them, right? So, like, you're right. There will always be somebody who wants to exert power over somebody else. Sure, maybe, but the mechanisms to amass that power don't exist in anarchism because you don't have a way to get $500 billion together, and there's just it doesn't exist. So, I'm
sorry. I think we really had that in the beginning. I mean, that's why I was saying George Washington go back to his farm, and he wasn't cared about, unless he was called to his office, I think we really had that, and it's off the slippery slope, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, unless you were black, of course, or American Indian, or any of the people that we were actively oppressing at the time. So,
and that's sickness of men's hearts. We make errors.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's also because they were products of Western Europe, where they didn't have those ideas when they got here, right? They ended up having to live with institutions that already arrived. So they already were living under this idea that people were going to Africa and importing humans. And think about how long it took to it, even after 1776, right? America, let's just call it 1812 because we finally got rid of England for good. Then only 30 years after that, we abolished the importing of slavery. Think about that. Mm-hmm. That's fucking quick. And so there was immediate after we got rid of England, we were already working on. We abolished the importation of slavery. England abolished slavery in the UK and all of their territories in 1833. In 1864-ish, 1865, we did the Emancipation or 1862 was
Abraham
the
Lincoln.
Emancipation Proclamation. 1865 was the abolition of slavery. So in the course of 50 years after the Constitution was totally in, and we finally 1812 got rid of the English for good. Only 50 years later, the abolition of slavery. So it wasn't like, I don't know. I'm with you, I guess. It's like, but when you put in things and you're looking at those that like lens of history, I feel like that's really important that they had that kind of anarchistic something, right? They didn't have a name for it back then, right? They didn't have a name for capitalism back then either. Like the word capitalism hadn't been invented yet. So, you know,
and they just did what, you know, they're like the tea in the harbor, and they're like, this is overtaxation, and they understood that they couldn't take the tea, and they understood that federalism can be dangerous, but they also understood that, you know, there has to be something in place. And I think that's where you see the federalist powers and the, you know.
Yeah, they knew that they needed. They were also afraid of the rabble. That's something that was very real. The people who had power were afraid of the people who didn't. But they knew that they wanted something that was more equitable because of Enlightenment thinking. These are John Lockean, theories, philosophy. It's early American philosophy, Enlightenment thinking, and I feel like nowadays we're kind of anti-Enlightenment. It's not just that, and the way we become anti-Enlightenment is saying that anarchism's evil or that communism's evil, and you can't even have these thoughts in your head. Socialism evil. No, they're not. Like socialism is an anarchism. Like the Civil Rights Act came from anarchistic strategies. Social Security is an entirely socialist program. The military is a socialist program.
It's funny because people will be like, socialism. I'm like, how'd you get to work today? And he was like, I drove on the road. And I was like, that's socialism. If
totally.
It's unchecked and they're taking all the money, now there is the whole like level the playing field where everybody's making the same amount. It doesn't matter. I believe that won't promote people to work harder because they're just kind of floating along. But I also understand that if you just give all the money to the top, it's never going to work either. And so that's why I kind of
but look what you just did. You're afraid of the working class being lazy, but they don't have a history of laziness. The history of laziness is at the top. The people who are actually, those are the ones who we're giving our money to. Those are the ones who are lazy. People will work. People want to, if they ain't got nothing to do, they'll start doing art. They'll start digging. They'll start doing all sorts. People love doing shit. Like they're gonna work. The lazy class are the ones that we all give the money to now. Look what we're doing now. Like with socialism, we're still taxing the middle class, but we're not getting anything in return. Our socialist programs are gone because socialism is bad, but they're still taking the money.
Well, they're not holding. They're taxing the people who don't hold all them. You look at the disproportionate of income. I mean, some of these companies are making $38,000 a second, or not a second, a minute. And so, you do the math. By the time they pay their taxes, they've already made it up. And so that's why I think that there's a balance. They shouldn't be over leveraging the people. I think they should have to, pay their fair share, and at the same time, the people should get a break.
Like, I mean, you saw what Zohar Mamdani did. He taxed, I think, 2%, and that was just on the pied-à-terre tax. The pied-à-terre tax, meaning that if you have an apartment in New York City that you don't live in as your primary residence, he's going to put a tax on, and it's only over like a $500,000, or no, it's in the millions. Sorry, if it's worth over some millions, and you aren't living there, and you're just holding it, they're going to tax you 2% on it, and he's going to raise $500 million this year that way, with this tiny tax on the rich.
And they won't even see it because they'll make that up in 1 minute.
They won't even notice it. And the other thing is, they're going to, if you did that across the board, if you taxed the billionaires just on their paychecks, don't even touch their their stock, don't even touch their capital gains, just tax their paychecks, 50%. All the bridges and roads are repaired. And how many jobs is that of just on road repair? Like,
well, that's what Teddy Roosevelt did during the Gilded Age.
That's right.
Trump is calling it the Golden Age. He's got the wrong age. The 1950s was the Golden Age. The Gilded Age, Teddy Roosevelt broke up all the monopolies, and that's what Trump wants to go back to, by the way, where they made all the money and everybody else is scrapping for pennies.
That's right. But you were able to also build stuff. Look at Franklin did. He taxed the rich. Back then, if you were Humphrey Bogart or Lauren Bacall, you were spending almost 95% of your paycheck was going to the federal government so that we can build shit during the Great Depression, like the Golden Gate Bridge. Like, isn't that crazy? We built the Golden Gate Bridge during the Great Depression, and it's still standing.
That's crazy. Yeah, well, because they made it better back then. I mean, go buy a washing machine. I've got one that's 2 years old. That thing's a piece of junk.
It's true. Everything's a little bit more fragile now. Well, I'm starting to lose my voice, and I got another stream today, so I'm going to call it quits. I appreciate you coming on Terra Firma.
No problem. Thanks for having me. Maybe we'll talk later.
Thank you. Yeah, please come on again. Thank you. All right. Well, that was fun, everybody. Thank you so much. That is going to be the end of the show. This is the Pick Your Battle show. You can always pick from the menu, or you can bring your own battle and talk about whatever you want at morningsky.live/PYB. You can come on live with me. I do this show every day at 1 p.m., Monday through Friday, and I hope that you will come on. Good guest, says Twisted Hippie. I think so, too. I want to say personal thank you to Veg in the Woods. Thank you so much for all those memberships you were buying. I saw that. I didn't have anything to read, but I do want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. I love my channel members. I love the Sky City Rebels. I love this community. I get a lot out of it, and I hope that you guys too. Thank you so much. Yes, we are going to game later. We're going to play Coffee Talk later. Man, this show keeps on going. I want to do that show at 5 p.m., but I guess I'm going to do it at 5:30 again because I need to take a break, and I'm trying to install this computer properly. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do it in an hour and a half. So I'll see you. Yeah, I'm going to do this. We'll have another stream at 5:30, and we're going to play Coffee Talk and do a little gaming, talk a little bit about fun shit, tell some stories. I'm having a lot of fun doing it, and I'm learning how to game stream. Gaming streaming is a whole different thing. If you're watching on Twitch or Facebook or Kick, thank you for watching. I would love, just do me a solid and hit that subscribe button. Please subscribe to Skyjack Morgan, or you can take a picture. Hold on a second. You can actually just take a screenshot and do the QR code on my belly bell, on my yummy tummy. You could do the belly. You could take a picture right now. Stick my belly out for you, and you can subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much for subscribing, everybody. I think you're amazing, and I hope that you have a great day. If you're not going to join me for the gaming stream, one last thing. I'm thinking about doing like a non-political morning show on Fridays, like a casual Friday thing, and doing some reaction videos just for fun. Thank you so much for joining. Let me know what you think. And if you have any videos that you'd like me to react to, please put it in the community tab of this channel. It's youtube.com/@SkyjackMorgan/community, and you can do that. Guy Fox just came into the chat, but doesn't have any devices on. You snuck in, Guy Fox, but I'm going to call it quits right now. Thank you so much. Just for chat after stream. Okay, you still got to turn on your mic, though. All right, yeah, I'm down. I am closing down, yeah, but you could stick around if you want to chat with me for a second. All right, I'm closing it down, and I'll see you in just a second, Guy Fox. But everyone else, I'll see you tomorrow or tonight for the gaming stream. It's fun. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you so friggin' much.